Alright, so let's see here. Yeti AI Jank. Alright, I haven't looked at this video yet. If this is like a Rickroll, I'm gonna time you out. So, let me have a look. Okay, good, it's not a Rickroll. Alright, so let me share this real quick. Okay, apparently you can break the Yeti AI in this game. I've kind of known about this, but never really thought to look into it, so we're gonna actually investigate that now and just try to understand what's going on here. So let's see it. Oh. That's it. Does the Yeti... Wait, was it already broken? Why is it like standing on an edge like that? Usually they'll try to like walk back in bounds. Or did it just like recover there? There's more. I'm gonna watch the whole thing. Fast forward. Okay. You guys are like web gunning it. You stunned it. Well, let me not skip forward. Let me just see. Okay. And it's just not doing anything. This is kind of roughly how I understood it. Is there going to be like a payoff to this at the end? Oh, you're going to go break another Yeti. Okay, that one's moving around. Okay, so it really is... Oh, hold on a sec. Whoa, now what happened there? Okay, hold on. There's more to this. That's backwards 4. Okay, so the person being carried whipped. And that just resulted in the Yeti finishing the throw for some reason. 793, yes, of course. That seems like a very good idea to test this kind of nonsense at 793. Good. Love the Cosmic Ocean. Good job, guys. Well, at the very least, you made some science. So let's go look into that. Let's see if we can figure out what's going on with that. Honestly, this seems obvious enough. I'm kind of surprised that I haven't looked into this at any point until now. I do have a Twitch notification. Yes, I know I have action required. Oh, I got a hype emote. Okay. Thank you, Twitch. Very cool. Alright, let's go have a look into this and see if we can figure out what's going on. Here we go. Alright, so we can close out of all this stuff. So I'm going to just go back to like the main menu, I think. And then I'm going to close Task Wizard and all this other nonsense that I started up here. So let's get rid of that one. And let's get rid of that. Thank you, Task Wizard. Very cool. Alright, so we're going to do this in Ice Caves because that feels like the right place. Like it's fitting. Even though it doesn't matter, I could probably just spawn these wherever. So now I can finally use a skin. So let's see if I did this correctly. There we go. There's the low effort pumpkin skin that was requested like an hour ago. And why not? Just front facing Rafi. Alright, let's go. I see one chose to show it. Look, don't blame... This is as much your fault as anyone else, because both of you were making bad decisions in that situation. Alright, so let's go have a look at this and see if we can figure out what's going on. Obviously, I could just spawn Yetis in to get this to happen instead. So I'm going to be using a lot of frame advancing. If you're ever not sure if I'm doing frame advancing, this little pause up here, this little icon, is the thing that'll kind of indicate that. So just pay attention to that. If it's not clear whether or not the stream froze or something, that is the frame advance icon. If that's paused there and you see it flickering occasionally, that means I'm doing frame advance like I am right now. So let's just see if we can figure out what's happening with this. And she's Spelunky, my favorite. Okay, I'll queue that one up. Or maybe I could just... You know what? We're just going to stack them both at the same time. So this will be easier if I just go back to the main menu and pick one. Alright, let's pick our second character. Alright, so we're going to have Pilot. What is Rafi's... There we go. I have to remember my keyboard controls for this. Let's see. Who do we want to be the assistant? Rafi isn't my favorite. No, if you could believe it. Thinking who here would be, you know what, Bald Mole Anna is going to be, like, dealer's choice for this one. There we go. Wretched, I hate it. Alright, let's go. Play classic guy. God damn it. Okay, well, that'll be on the list now. At least we snuck in a couple of decent characters for this before we had to do that one. Alright, so let's go find a Yeti. I'm gonna have God mode on initially while I, like, screw around. Hey, look, Yetis. It's just what we wanted. Alright, let's see if we can figure out what's going on with this. So, God mode off. Make a couple save states. And let's just do it vanilla. Okay, the Yeti didn't actually, like, stop moving. Like, it tries to do the throw. Okay, does it have to be touching me? Okay, it has to be touching me when it finishes the throw. So if we reload the save state, if it starts the animation and I move away, it actually keeps its AI intact. But if it stays touching me for the entire duration of the throw, then its AI bugs out. I wonder if this works with hired hands. It probably does. Yeah, and then they just get stuck in this state. So let's look at the technical details really quick for what's going on with the Yetis. So I'm going to put these two guys down here. I will make another save state. Okay, let's go ahead and see if we can figure out what's going on in the game engine here. So that's the player. That's not what I wanted at all. I want the Yeti. Detach. Let's look at its entity state here. It's probably going into a weird AI state. Yeah, it costs 8 times more. I keep trying to disincentivize people from using it without completely making it unaffordable. And so far, that one has been fairly good. Maybe someday I'll increase it even more. But whatever, I will play it because the redeem is there, and I am a man of my word. And if somebody redeems that, I will either refund it if I don't get to it, or I will play Classic Guy begrudgingly for 30 minutes. Alright, so let's have a look here and see what's going on with the AI state. So first of all, actually, let me get a baseline for how this works. If I just get touched by this Yeti, this also happens with shopkeepers, which makes me wonder why this bug doesn't kick in with shopkeepers, or I've never seen that. But when the Yeti touches you, he goes into this attacking AI state down here. And then his current state updates 1 frame later, and then he goes into this throwing animation, which it took like about 5 frames before I actually entered the throwing state. Now watch out for that, Anna. So it took about 5 frames between when he like touched me and when the actual throw occurred. And you've probably noticed this before. If you're not in there after that 5 frame window, it just kind of doesn't happen. So if I like walk up to him like this, and I just get barely skimmed. He's not walking right now. I should probably pick a better frame to save on. Come on, start moving. There we go. Alright, so if I let him do this and he starts the animation, and then I just kind of move away, you just don't get thrown. Like, you have to be touching the Yeti during that specific window. Yeah, it's the same thing with shopkeepers. They, like, won't throw you if you're not actually touching them during that window. There's some jank where they can do, like, contact damage in short tunnels. We maybe can lump that in here. I'm not entirely sure how that nonsense works. But the important part here is that you don't get thrown immediately. The question then is, is that related in any way to this interaction? And it seems like it is, because it seems like if I take the held player and he tries to throw them, let's watch his AI state again. So he starts the animation, and then I move away before it gets far in enough. It might be more than 5 frames. I think it's more like 7 or 8, but it's hard to count these things. I can measure it a little more precisely in a moment. So he's in the attacking state, and then he just goes back to the standing state with idling for AI. This is a little bit confusing here because there's this state up here and there's also an AI state. Usually AI state is the thing that dictates what the entity is able to do on each frame, and standing state sort of like encapsulates like how they're positioned in the world. Are they falling? Are they standing on the ground? And AI state is kind of like what the intent of the entity is. I don't know if I explained that very well, and it's not terribly well defined, but we got to pay attention to both of those because they're both checked for various behaviors, because we cannot have consistency in this game. So by doing that like partial throw, you can see there he just kind of went back to the normal state afterward. And if I let him do that to me, it's probably the same thing. So he starts the attacking state. and then he misses, and it just goes back to the the normal AI state of just idling, and then when he walks around, he goes into the walking state, like just alternating back and forth between that, like most of these like caveman type entities do. Since I think these guys are kind of functionally similar to how cavemen behave in this game. Let's see, on your clip, you have no idea how you were able to break the Yeti AI without a second player. You'll check his VODs. Wait, did you... Oh yeah, you linked a second clip, didn't you? We'll look at that in a moment here, but let me see if I can figure out what's locking the AI too. I'm gonna forget to look at your clip, by the way, so please remind me. Can a Yeti throw you if you're mounted on a turkey? We can also check that out. This could just be like Yeti throw science. Maybe that'll be what this segment is. Alright, so anyways... You have a long time. I feel like it's more. Let's figure out how many frames it is just so that I have the right number. And then we'll figure out what's going on with the held player. Alright, so that's the first frame of contact. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's like on the 8th frame. It's hard to say like 7 or 8 because it kind of depends on like how you count the first and last frame, but it's about like 8 frames or so before you actually get locked into the throw, at which point I can't do anything anymore. I will just get thrown. Like that's the frame where I think the game applied the stun to my character and started the whole process. You can't recover once you get like put into the throw position. So if we go back to this here, let's go watch what happens now. Normally what would happen here is he'd go into the attacking state and then just go back to the normal state. But let's see what happens if I just let the whole thing play out with a held entity. Okay, so the throw would have happened right about there. That was about 8 frames. And then he continues the animation while still touching me. I need to do this slowly because I don't know when it's going to end. Okay, so like the animation ended and the Yeti is still in the attacking state. Interesting. I need to pay attention to what the behavior value is for that as well. Be back in 3 minutes, so if I was planning on discussing the body thing, can I wait like 3 minutes? Wait, hold on. I'm trying to remember the context for this. I have a old man brain. Give me a second here. Can't throw a player. Yeah, I know why it breaks in that sense. I'm trying to figure out like technically what's occurring internally. This is going to take a while, so you probably won't miss anything. Just go do your BRB like now. AI Visualizer doesn't have anything for the Yetis because they don't have any AI ranges. It's just contact with the Yeti that causes this. So there's nothing useful for me to see here in the AI Visualizer. I don't think I even have a category for the Yetis because they just don't have any AI that can be seen. So he's just stuck in the attacking state. I'm going to pay attention to the behavior state. So let's go do this again. So normally what happens here, actually, he's in behavior state 1. Like, there's multiple states here, and it's very confusing. So I'm as confused as you probably are. Does it even change during the throw? Yeah, it does go to 12. And then if I pull away, it goes back to 1 when he's finished with the throw attempt. And if I do this and then I stay touching him and he finishes the whole animation, it goes back to 1, but his AI state is still attacking. And I think that might be the crux of like what's going on here. Yeah, so normally the behavior state is supposed to like go back to 1 and the AI state goes back to 0, I think, after this whole interaction. So he's attacking, so I'm looking at these numbers here, 6 and 12. The behavior state is kind of matching the current state. And if I go through with the whole thing, he stays in AI state 6, but his current behavior goes to 1 instead. And then the AI bugs out. Now I wonder why that happens. It's almost certainly the AI state, so if I change this guy's move state, so Ida move state, if I change this guy's move state back to 0 like it would have normally been, see if that unbricks the AI. Yeah, that unbricks the AI. So if I do that and then I set the move state back to 0, he just immediately goes back to his normal behavior. So that's what it is. Yeah, you didn't miss anything, don't worry. That's what it is. It has something to do with the game, like, just going right back into the attacking state again. Curious to see the Yeti's timers. I don't know what timers the Yeti has. It's You know what? It's not a timer. I'm pretty sure. Let me look at the OL docs real quick here. I don't even think it's a timer, though. I think this is just an animation state that the game is counting off of, and I've never been very good at figuring out how this nonsense works. So let's go look at the Yetis here and see if we can figure this out. Alright, so the first Yeti is... Yeah, I don't even know if the Yeti has its own, like, dedicated entity. I'm just checking the Overlunky, like, API right now. Yeah, this is what I thought. Yetis are probably just walking monster, if I had to guess. Like, this entity right here, just with a walk-pause timer. Because I think they are just kind of, like, loosely based on the mechanics of a caveman. I could check real quick to see what the actual casting is for this entity. Yeah, it's just walking monsters, so there is nothing specifically special about this, so it is most likely baked into the, like, animation for the Yeti, is how the game decides what to do with that. Which is annoying, but that's how they implemented it because it's a Spelunky 2, so there's not a whole lot to learn by looking at entity data for these. Yetis are not really useful for that. So, back to the game. Let me catch up on chat for a second here. I think you get why. So while it's touching the player, it's in the attacking phase, and the throw animation starts only on the second frame. Since the attacking phase never ends, it doesn't reset the throw, but also doesn't move. I feel like you might be onto something here. I might have the same idea, but with different wording for it. But I think it has something... What I think is going on here, which I would have to be able to look at the game's code to figure this out, so we may not get a very satisfying answer out of this, but I think what's going on here is the first frame of contact here switches to the attacking state, and then the standing state is like a little bit behind, then it updates this to this attacking state. This is probably the thing that sets the Yeti's animations. Let's see if we can get that to show up as well. It might be here? Yeah, animation frame. So you see here, it goes to animation frame 16. This is where it's going through the sprite sheet to figure out where it is in the throwing state. 17. This is something that I'm not very familiar with. Like, hello, Ted Cuddy. A lot of the animations do this. They have like a few frames. I don't know exactly how this is encoded. There is an animation object in memory for a lot of these entities that I don't think is exposed in Overlunky, that decides like how many frames to wait before progressing to the next animation. And I think this is the behavior that encodes when the throw actually happens for this. And what I think is going on here is I wonder if like the fact that the game tries to start up a new throw immediately after the previous one ends because I'm still touching the Yeti, I wonder if that's the thing that causes this to bug out. I wonder if you could do this by having like a second player touch the Yeti as they're throwing like the first player. Or if you'll take the weird janky contact damage from that interaction. So what happened here? Yeah, he goes back to animation frame 0, still in the attacking state. The behavior state got reset back to 1. And I think at this point it's the fact that the Yeti is in the attacking AI state. But the basic state, I don't know what to call this, goes back to standing. I think it just has to do with the Yeti still touching something that it can throw on the frame that it finishes the animation. Again, there's a lot going on here, and I don't know which of these parameters is what causes that to happen. But let's go ahead and try a few other scenarios, see if we can like narrow this down a little bit. So back to the save state. Let me get a better save state where he is actively walking towards me. If I stand like right here, I want him to be moving so we don't have to wait very long. Okay, that should be good. So let's make a couple save states there. And now, let's try the other theory that I had, which is... Now, let me quickly unstun Anna here. Okay, so... What if I'm getting thrown and then a second player touches the Yeti as that's occurring? So somebody is touching the Yeti at the end of the throwing animation. Let me make another save state for this. Gotta test if it works for a hired hand. Yeah, if I miss something here, don't let me forget those. I do want to try hired hands because it's probably very similar. Alright, so the Yeti has started the throw animation. Who is he going to throw, and then what's going to happen to the remaining player? Because we have 2 players touching this Yeti. Did it pull both of us? Oh, he actually threw both players. I didn't know this can happen. He actually threw both players at the same time. I feel like I've never seen this interaction, but I probably have, and it's just confusing. But like, we didn't hit each other or anything. He just took every player that was touching him and threw them at the same time. This guy is truly a chuckster. So let's see if we can touch him after he starts throwing the first player. Okay, so now I'm gonna run Anna into him while he's still in the throw. He actually scoops the second player. Oh, that's so stupid looking. I didn't know this. He actually scoops in anybody who's touching him during like the second half of the throw animation and just grabs them both. You could have like the 4 players like run into the Yeti in sequence during that bit and they would all just get thrown forward somehow. That is incredibly stupid looking. I did not know that that was how that works, but I think it's just any throwable entity that's touching him. Yeah, what if I was gonna check that? What if Anna touches him at the end of the animation? I don't know. Let's find out. So let's see if I can just articulate these inputs just on the fly. So how many frames do I gotta wait before Anna just runs at him? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then let's start running at him. So Anna got scooped, and then like 3 frames later, so let's try to like 14 frames or something and see what happens. So okay, so that's 13 frames. Let me make another save state there, and let's start running at him immediately. So I still got scooped in and then thrown, so let's wait 1 more frame. So we wait a frame and then we start running. This is how I make tasks, by the way. Like, it's basically this kind of trial and error. That's cursed. He just slaps Anna. This is so stupid. I didn't know that there was this much, like, nuance to how this works. He just whips around and just slaps the second player, like, in the other direction. Like, touching him at the end of the animation just causes that instead. This is very dumb looking. I want to repeat that one. That was kind of funny looking. Yeah, so if I wait 1 frame and then run into him. You know, let's go back to the Yeti. So if we're looking at the animation frame, it's hard to tell what's going on here in the animation structure because that's not exposed in Overlunky. But if I touch him on this next frame, I think what happened here was he's at like the end of his attack animation here, so his behavior state changed to 1, and he finished the attack animation. This is just something to do with how they implemented this in the code. Like, what's happening here is, like, on 1 frame, the Yeti is changing the AI state, and then that's causing, like, the behavior state to change 1 frame later, and we're getting, like, this, like, partial attack animation here. And in this case, it looks like he finished half of the attack behavior, but not the other half. Like, the other state hadn't reset yet. So during this last frame, he finally finished attacking, but during the execution of the frame, he was still able to throw Anna and turn around. And the turnaround behavior is usually, most entities, like cavemen, when you touch them, will turn around to face things that they touch. Normally, you would just take contact damage from doing that with, like, a caveman. But in this case, the Yeti just throws you instead. Unless there's like a ceiling above him, which we might look into that later. I don't know if that was very coherent, but what this boils down to is I think there are 2 steps to entering and exiting the attack state for the Yeti. And having something that he cannot throw touching him at some point during that window is what causes him to bug out. But it looks like if he can throw whatever it is that he's touching, this problem doesn't occur. It doesn't confuse the AI. Then you get this, that's just complete nonsense. It's very stupid looking. Yeah, we'll try 1 frame after, so we'll do that one next. So yeah, test 4 players, each with 8 hired hands. Everyone hug the Yeti. That would be very hard to set up, so I'm not going to do that, but it would look very silly if somebody did that. So what we're going to do here is this is the same setup, but we're going to wait 2 frames instead. So 1, 2, and then we're going to run into him. And I think what's going to happen here is he's just going to start a new throw animation. So he finished, and then he started a new throwing animation. And then, so that's business as usual. So that's kind of what I thought would happen here. We don't get the bugged AI behavior at any point here. But we do get that really interesting mechanic where the Yeti could do a throw turnaround, I guess is what you would call that. That's kind of what I thought would happen here. I think this has something to do with him being unable to throw the thing that he was in contact with. I wonder if iframes could cause that to happen, because I know there's a little bit of jank associated with that. Let's see here. How does that work? There's so many things I could try here. Let's go back to frame 1. Let's see if I could figure out which frame he bugs out on if I pull Anna, like, away from him as he's doing the throw. Alright, so we know that the throw would have occurred there. Let me go ahead and make a save state here. So I'm going to wait 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, so on the 7th frame, he's going to be permanently bugged out. So let's try it on, like, the 6th frame. I'm going to pull Anna out of his hitbox and see if he bugs out at that point. So back to this save state. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Turn away. Looks like he's fine, so I think it is the 7th frame. So if I turn around on frame 8, I think he will already be bugged out. We turned around on frame 7 and he was fine. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then he should already be bricked, but if I do it 1 frame before that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then turn around. He's in the normal state. Yeah, it's that like second recovery frame after his throwing animation that causes the AI to remain stuck in this AI state with the wrong behavior state. And the Yeti just cannot figure out what to do at that point. It's interesting. And what about carrying a dead body or knocked Yeti? It shouldn't matter because the Yeti cannot throw anything that isn't like a player type entity, but we can try that. But yeah, it has something to do with a failed throw where the Yeti is still touching something that it could throw. Seems to be like the criteria that causes that. I will very quickly try to do this with like another body, but I don't think this is going to give us any insight because I'm pretty sure he won't try to throw another body. So what we should see here is he doesn't care and will not attempt to throw until touching pilot is what I expect to happen here. Well, not pilot, but a bumper, pumpkin, whatever skin. So let me set another save state here. I don't expect this guy to do anything. Yeah, he's not going to do anything. He doesn't care. And then he tries to throw me. And then I get yeeted, and it looks like the body just kind of gets knocked away. I'm not entirely sure what the mechanic is behind that. I think that just has to do with me getting thrown and then dropping the body on the same frame, but the Yeti didn't actually try to throw the body. Because they just don't do that. They like only interact with player type entities, and maybe the mount that you're riding as well, which I would like to check at some point. And then just out of curiosity, if I like touch him, I start to throw, and I back out and like put the Yeti on him instead. So only the Yeti is touching him in this scenario. Looks like nothing special happened. His AI didn't get bugged out, so he's just gonna walk up to me and try to do it again. Yeah, I don't think anything special is going to happen here. It's only player bodies that cause this nonsense to occur. So let's see, you're trying to figure out how to do it in solo. Hired hands is probably going to be the way to go. We haven't done hired hands yet. Let's see. Wait, what else have I missed here? I want to try mounts. I want to try iframes as well. Let's try iframes first for this. So, how do I want to go about doing this? We can get like a UFO shot to hit the player. So let me go ahead and do that. I'm going to get into position again. Alright, so let's make our save state, like right here. I'm just going to overwrite the other ones because we're not using those anymore. Someday I'll set up a UI so you can actually see me press the save state hotkeys, but for anyone who's very confused, I'm just pressing hotkeys to do these save states, so like you don't get to see any feedback in the game as it happens, so just take my word for it. So laser shot is one that you could pretty frequently access here. You could also get hit by traps in Neo Babylon because there's Yetis there too. But laser shots give you a lot of iframes. So let's see what that interaction looks like here. I'm probably going to want to spawn a bunch of these, so let me set it to like, we don't really need that other stuff. Alright, so if I spawn a laser shot inside of me, I'm going to get the iframes, and let's just see what happens as this Yeti tries to throw me. Yeah, you've probably seen this before, where you get like the throw knockback from a Yeti or a shopkeeper, but you don't get the stun. But I think that's going to count as a successful throw, so I don't believe we're going to be able to brick the AI by doing this. You can also see how ridiculously long the iframes are from a Yeti throw, or from a UFO shot. Like, I don't even have to do anything particular to get that to happen. It's just so easy to do it. What about if you're in a wall? Yeah, I guess I do wonder. If I put a wall there, I think I will just get thrown straight up. I don't think I'll get the stun. So if I... Now let me turn off the camera updating thing here, because that's causing issues. So if this Yeti touches me while I have the iframes, it throws me. Yeah, I just kind of... I don't get the stun or anything. I just get, like, yeeted straight up. Block the Yeti and you. Well, the ceiling is going to cause something weird to happen because the Yeti behavior changes when there's a ceiling above it. So I'm trying to think what else there is. On your clip, Simon was able to glitch the Yeti at the edge of the floor without using your body. Oh, okay, so that's the clip we saw earlier, right? That's when I was wondering why the Yeti was stuck, like, on the corner. Could see it with your point of view. If you don't have footage of that, then I'm not really sure what to go off of. I assume that you guys somehow triggered that glitch to happen off camera before the clip got made. I don't really know what else was going on there. I'm pretty sure a player body will work for this. So if I unalive Anna here, let's see what happens. Alright, so I think we'll get a similar interaction, because I don't think it matters if the player's alive or not. Oh, it actually does. They don't try to throw the player body. Interesting. Alright, let's get him to try to throw me, and then put the player on him. I thought they try to throw player bodies, because they stun lock you usually. I wonder why that wouldn't happen. No, it didn't glitch him out, though. Because his AI is still active. I actually wasn't expecting that. I thought that they try to throw player bodies. They do try to throw player bodies, but not when they're held, apparently. That's not what I thought was going to happen here. I didn't mean to do that. I tried to spawn the bullet. Yeah, so if we have a held player body, the Yeti doesn't care about the held body. He doesn't try to throw it. It's not eligible to get thrown by the Yeti. But apparently if the body is just, like, on the floor and he walks into it... Oh, it's gonna stun him. Yeah, but if the body is on the floor and he walks into it, he does attempt to throw it. Yeah, what if you try to pick it up? That's what I'm getting at here. I'm gonna try that. Let me first see what happens here if I don't do anything weird. So, save states. So he does try to throw the body, and it looks like it's the usual interaction, and it just gets tossed. And then he goes back to the normal state. So if we reload that save state and I pick up the body after the throw animation has started, I don't think anything interesting is going to happen here. Yeah, nothing interesting happens. It's basically the same as me triggering the throw, because I think what happens here is the Yeti triggers the throw animation, and then it doesn't matter actually what is touching the Yeti until the frame that he becomes eligible to throw it. At which point anything that is touching the Yeti for like 6 or 7 frames after he gets to the middle of the animation, that's when he actually decides what to throw. Hello, Apostle of Cats. I think that's it. Kind of just there's two things that happen here. There's two events. There's the trigger for the throw, which is completely irrelevant, and then what happens is he decides what to throw on the later frames of the animation, like 7 or 8 frames later. So I could get him to start a throw. So I get someone to touch me here. Let's say I didn't time that right. So if I get him to start a throw, and then I just move away, and something else touches him while he's in the throwing state, they just get thrown instead. Like, it doesn't matter who initialized the throw. It just matters that something that's eligible to do it causes it. So the other thing I could do here, like with a dead player, for instance, is he could start the throw animation, and I could heroically toss them out of the way and touch the Yeti myself, and I would just get thrown. Like, there doesn't seem to be any connection between those events. Flip style with the raid, hello. We are trying to figure out the nuances of Yetis throwing things. It's been a little bit insightful here, and there's some jank associated with it. So if you like jank and Spelunky 2, this is the stream for you. And just for a little context for anyone who doesn't know what the hell I'm talking about here, if you hold a living player and have a Yeti attempt to throw them out of your hands, the Yeti's AI just kind of turns off for some reason. We're just trying to understand like how that happens. Yeah, this was Beck. Beck is the one that like. I think this was Beck, right? Or was this Dudu? Or it was both of you, right, that caused me to do this? No, this wasn't Beck. Beck was the one that wanted me to look at his score running for some reason. This was Dudu that made me do this one. I'm sure Beck would have made me do it at some point or another, but no, that was something different that she wanted me to do. Yeah, you wanted the broken happy ghost. But yeah, for some reason that just bugs out the Yeti's AI. I think if you stun it, it'll probably fix itself. Yeah, if you stun the Yeti, it does, like, get out of that AI state. But otherwise, it just kind of just bricks it for whatever reason. So I just do that, and then I could just kind of walk through them, and nothing happens at that point. Like, his AI is basically halfway stuck in the attacking animation, but he's not eligible to throw anything or go back to the normal walking and, like, standing state, so he just stays like this. I wonder if he does the weird, like, cursed contact damage. Now let's see here. So I tested iframes, and it looks like iframe throws count as a successful throw, so it doesn't really affect that in any way. Let's see, and there's also the mounts. I want to do the ceilings separately, because I know the ceilings are confusing. Yeah, the woman shooting through the wall, the sorceress dagger. I do have that on my list. I want to look into the sorceress enemies spawning through walls, because we've seen that one a couple times, and I've never done science on it. You notice that Eggplant Child, even though he doesn't get chased when held by a no-clipped player, will still get ghosted if he collides with the ghost. Yeah, I think that's normal. I think that just always happens. Like, entities in your hand are not protected from everything. Like, lava will kill them, force fields will knock them out of your hands, and I'm pretty sure the ghost can also just kill them out of your hands. Yeah, you can see it happen there. I think this is just one of the scenarios. This is unrelated to what we're doing here. It's just well, it's kind of related. It's an example of a game mechanic, like interacting with something in the player's hands as opposed to them having to be on the ground, which is a very inconsistent game mechanic. And the ghost is just another example of that. It's not what we're attempting to test necessarily right now, though. I don't know why the default camera zoom isn't stored in the game state. Camera zoom is stored really strangely for some reason. Like, it's not part of the game state, so it doesn't get, like, stored with save states, and I don't really know why that is. Just more jank with how this game was programmed. You went and bought a sandwich, what'd you miss? We're still trying to work out the details of this. I want to try this with mounts. Can anybody else think of any, like, other ways to do this? Like, what I'm trying to figure out is, are there any other ways to brick the AI for the Yeti, other than to have a held character or body or whatever? It seems like it has to be a live character. But other than having a held character in your hands, and then having the Yeti go through his entire animation, can anyone think of any other way to, like, break his AI? So if I spawn, like, a hired hand, for instance, don't worry about the skin, that's completely normal. I think the same thing will happen. Let's go ahead and confirm this now, because I'm pretty sure this is going to be the exact same interaction you would normally get. I don't know how obedient this hired hand is, but we should be able to get it in a moment here. Yeah, he tries to throw the hired hand. Then right about here, he's going to break his AI, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, then his AI is in the wrong state. He's stuck in the attacking state, but his behavior state is just standing, and then the hired hand immediately ruins everything. Thanks, Danny. So nothing particularly special there. I think the behavior is going to be exactly the same as a player. And we can check real quick if a body matters at all, but hired hands, for most but not all purposes, behave exactly the same way as players. There are a few AI differences. Olmec will not attack hired hands, for instance. But generally speaking, it's the same behavior. So with a dead one, what we should see happen here is the Yeti just doesn't care and doesn't try to throw it anymore. Yeah, the Yeti doesn't care. He's going to walk all the way up to the player and then start the throwing animation. And then if I swap that to the dead hired hand, just nothing happens, and the Yeti's AI doesn't get broken. So I think it's the same. Webgun maybe? We're using a webgun on that stream. Well, I mean, did the webgun cause anything different to happen? Like, specifically? Because, I mean, I know the webgun was shot at the Yeti after its AI was already broken. That's what I saw during that clip, which, like, what I'm interested in right now is, are there other ways to get this to happen besides the scenario that I've, like, enlisted here, which is having a living, held, throwable object touching the Yeti at the end of his throwing animation. That's, or rather, I should say throwable but held so that it can't actually be thrown. Like, the Yeti thinks that it can throw the body, but it can't actually do it. Yeah, we're going to try mounts. I do want to try mounts. Can I go through the Yeti max speed so fast there's not enough time for him to throw you? I'm actually not sure. Let's find out. I don't remember if you have time for that. I don't think you do. Especially if you have something in your hands, but we'll really quickly check that. So with something in my hands, I'm going to wait for this Yeti to start moving towards me, and I'm just going to, like, just blast through him and see what happens. So he starts the animation here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so it was like, I guess I miscounted a frame. It was like the 7th frame that he started throwing me. Oh, he started earlier, actually, because of the held player. So if you're holding a player, you're definitely not going to be able to do it. And what you can actually see here is he threw me, which dropped my held player, and then on the next frame, he sucked in player 2 and threw them instead. Which I guess leads me to wonder if you can cause this bug to happen if you do that, like, on the last frame, but no, that doesn't really make any sense. There's not a good way to make that happen. Just never mind that thought. So we want to try the mounts. You think they're protected against cobra spit, poison, mummy flies? They're protected against firebug flames too, I'm pretty sure. It's very inconsistent. That's a whole science segment on its own to figure out, like, the differences between held and not held things. It's more a matter of what things, like, do affect held players. And again, lava, ghost, and force fields, and now Yeti AI apparently will attack a held living player for some reason. Yeah, I'm going to try to do it without a player in my hands. So if I just go through at full speed, let's see if it's even close before I do any, like, precise movement here. So we're moving at maximum speed right now. That's actually a pretty good alignment. Nah, it's not even close. I would need to be like 3 or 4 frames, like, further ahead. It's not even close to being able to do it. Like, I cannot think of a way where I can make up for how many extra frames I need for this to not happen. Like, I know that you can, like, jump over them. This happens a lot with shopkeepers. Like, this is not an uncommon situation where you run over like this. This jumping is pretty fast, so if you were to jump, like, right here and he starts to throw, you can just go, like, right through him like that. I don't even need frame advance to do that. You can see how easy the window is for that to happen, but if you're a little late, like that one there, like the 3rd or 4th try, I actually got thrown. You can do this with shopkeepers too. Like, it's not a very difficult trick to do. Like, it is beneficial if you're getting, like, if you're in a scuffle with a shopkeeper, like, just keep jumping. Like, there's a fairly good chance that you actually won't get thrown if you just keep jumping. Nothing can move faster than 0.4 speed, like, without, like, weird entity hierarchy jank. So, like, conceivably, there is a way to do this. Like, if I, like, jumped through this Yeti and it was also on a conveyor belt, like, maybe? Let's see, conveyor. I know how to type, I promise. So, like, if the Yeti was on a conveyor belt, like, moving left or something, and then I did, like, a short hop. Let's see if I can get this to work. This is a very contrived scenario because you can't normally get this to happen. These entities don't exist in the same level. But this Yeti is moving at the speed of the conveyor belt, which I don't remember how fast that is, and then can also be counteracted by me moving to the right, so, like, our relative velocities are different. Yeah, I'm gonna jump. What I'm gonna do here is just do a short hop so that I'm touching the Yeti the whole time I pass through him, like this. So he turns to face me. It doesn't really matter if the Yeti is moving on its own because it stops when it tries to touch you. But it's still getting moved by the conveyor belt, but I'm not. Yeah, this is not a very good... I'm going to touch the ground. Let me reset this and try it again. I'm going to touch the ground. I need to jump a little later. Alright, so if I get a running start... Alright, so I'm moving at full speed right now. It only takes a few frames to get to full speed. Yeti's gonna start... Nah, that's a stomp. Okay, we're gonna have to do a little bit better than that. Let me set up a proper, like, testing setup for this. So I'm gonna do that. And I need to make a save state for it. I did it again. Why am I pressing that? Spawner. Conveyor. You think I know how to spell that. Alright, so we want him going to the left. That's a Yeti. Move. Okay, so let's save state this. This is definitely like an obscure like scenario that isn't relevant. Yeti throw conveyor belt glitch. This whole segment is just going to be Yeti throw mechanics or Jank or something. Make a couple of save states for this one. Okay, I want him to stop. I actually want him to turn around. Let's get all our ducks in a row. Let's make sure that he's actually moving to the left when I attempt to do this. So I'm going to wait for him to start moving on his own. Okay, so he's going to start moving here, and then I'm going to go for it. Okay, there we go. He has conveyor belt speed, so I'll make my save state here, and let's go have a shot at it. So I'm going to jump for like 2 frames, and let's see if I stomp him. Okay, that's a stomp. So I'm going to need to make sure I'm a little bit lower. I need to jump later. I probably want to be moving up, like through the Yeti for this to work correctly. So let me get rid of this one. And do this instead. So yeah, I have pressed the wrong button, chat. I apologize. Okay, there we go. Create the save state right here. Let's jump up through him while he's moving. This is like the best case scenario, sort of. You can... Okay, so that contrived scenario right there, you can actually do it. It's just enough with the Yeti walking and moving to the left. You can go through the Yeti in that scenario, albeit with difficulty. It's very precise. Again, these two entities never exist in the same level, so you would not normally be able to encounter this situation. Yeah, this is the Kaizo trick. I wonder how easy this is to do in real time. Let me... Okay, it's not that difficult. I guess it's hard to tell for sure if I jumped too high and I passed through the Yeti. Yeah, it looks like it's a fairly lenient glitch, but again, I might be jumping too fast. It's difficult to tell. In which case, I'm getting too high up. And that brings up the ceiling scenario. Jump from one block below. Yeah, that's actually a valid point. You keep telling me to do that, and I keep ignoring you for some reason, so let's try that. Alright, so let's do it from like 1 block below instead. So wait for the Yeti to start moving. A running jump, and let me save state here. I'm gonna touch the ground, I think. Ooh, maybe? Okay, now we still get through. Yeah, it's definitely viable. It's enough speed from the conveyor belt for that to actually work. Any questions about that? Here's a new Kaizo like trick for someone to implement. I don't know how you would integrate this into a Kaizo run, like where you wouldn't be able to just otherwise just kill the Yeti or wait for it to turn around or something, but there's always ways you could do this. I'm sure someone will figure it out. The axolotl is not faster than 0.4. Axolotls are hella fast. I mean, I guess to be clear, actually, you're talking about 0.4 speed. Now that I think about it, actually, yeah, the axolotl probably is fast enough because we're moving at 0.145, and then the conveyor belt is also moving the Yeti in the opposite direction at some speed here. See, it's not applied as a velocity. It's looking like it's 0.05 in the other direction, so like the cumulative velocity you're getting is 0.195, which is enough for the player to pass through the Yeti. Axolotls in water are like stupid fast, so we could try that, but I also want to just look into the mounts in general. So we know that you could do this. Let's see, you don't have a clip handy, but a monkey attaching to held hired hand, you throw the hired hand, you get stunned. don't know what the heck you're talking about. If you can get a clip for that, post it, and I can put it on the list. We have a long list today, so I don't know what we're getting to. And then Pain Gravy, I apologize, I ignored you for like 17 minutes, but if you're still here, what did you mean by teleport? If you mean like teleport out of the Yeti's throw, I'm pretty sure what'll just happen there is it'll just count as you just not touching him anymore. I don't know that teleporting would do anything particularly special for that. At least I can't think why it would. We can try it, because I've been wrong about these things before, so I'll go ahead and attempt like a teleport, based on what I assume you meant. But if we just go ahead and like touch this guy, start his throw animation, and then just teleport out, if just nothing happens, his AI doesn't brick or anything, it's just like you weren't touching him anymore, like if you just like touched him and then walked out of range like this. Weirdness with held things. Yeah, I do like weirdness with held things. I don't mind getting the suggestion. If you can get me a clip of that, I would like to look into it, but I'd much prefer to have clips so that I have like the full context of like what the game mechanic is to start off with. Because otherwise that just sounds like basically held item jank, and monkeys themselves are also very confusing to me. So if you want me to look into that and you have a clip of that, I can try to like put it on my list. Alright, so anyways, let's see here. So that's the conveyor mechanics. I do want to try mounts. Does anyone else have anything with like hired hands or like co-op players, or do we want to look into how mounts interact now? And we will also want to look into low ceilings. Just a primer for what I'm talking about with the low ceilings is that if I walk into this Yeti with a low ceiling over his head, I take contact damage. Like, if the game just like changes the mechanic, I take contact damage and I'm instantly like thrown by the Yeti. It's stupid. I assume it's a hard-coded mechanic, but like I do want to look into whether there's any nuance to how that behavior occurs, as opposed to what we've been doing here this whole time. So let's see here. Okay, I got to that. Is it just a matter of when you're overlapping the Yeti hitbox? Yeah, that's what we think it is. Is like the Yeti will start a wind-up animation, then about 7 or 8 frames into that animation, for the remainder of the animation, which is like another 7 or 8 frames, anything eligible to be thrown by the Yeti that is touching it will get thrown. So like I showed that earlier, you might have like stepped away or something, but if I put the player on the opposite side like this, and I start the throwing animation, he's gonna yeet me in a moment, and then player 2 will just get like scooped into the throw if I run in from behind the Yeti later, which is really silly looking. And then similarly, I think if I were to like drop a hired hand on him at some point while that was going on, so if I get the throw to start like that, and then I just like drop a hired hand, he'll just suck the hired hand in and throw it instead. It's just anything that can be thrown that is touching him will get thrown. That seems to be how the mechanic works. The frame dancing on a falling platform into lava. That hired hand, oh god, hired hand jank. That's hired hand jank. I'm not equipped to look into that because I don't have a good visualization for their AI. I think Dragu showed like a couple things in that nature, but never actually put them in Overlunky. Some of it might be exposed, but I think that the AI like mechanics of the hired hands are still a little bit of a mystery. I don't currently have the tool set to like properly understand it, because what we would need to basically know is on every frame, like what is the hired hand trying to do is kind of the insight that I would need to understand that, and I just don't know. Like, I have a basic idea of how it works. I think they kind of act on like impulses, where every frame they will select one thing to react to, whether that is to move towards it or to move away from it or update their pathing or something. I feel like they're only allowed to react to one threat per frame, which is why they will sometimes just ignore a hazard while reacting to another one. But I really don't know beyond that, like, how the mechanics work. It's very janky. Alright, it looks like you found the clip, so let me, let's see, what was the wording for this so I can write this one down. Monkey attached to... Okay, I'm gonna make a note of this one. Again, I do not know if I will get to this today, because we have accumulated a long list here, but I will put that with the clip. Let me just check and see that this works, and it's not a rickroll. Okay, yeah, this looks like it's fine. I like how you opened up by shooting a shopkeeper with a plasma cannon. This is going to be a fun clip if and when we get to it. Okay, I see it's not you, it's somebody else's stream. Alright, we will potentially look into that. Back to the Yetis, though. Perhaps it's running from the lava. Their pathfinding around lava is really bad. They know not to pathfind into lava, but they get very confused about how to, like, get out of an imminent death situation when there is lava near them. Like, I don't think they know that they're gonna die if they're on a falling platform that's sinking into lava. And then they're kind of like reacting to the lava being close to them, but they're not like trying to pathfind to safe land, so they just kind of perish. Like, that's my guess for what's going on. Like, they know the lava's a threat, but they don't know to move away from it. Like, they don't know to pathfind away from it, I should say. So, like, each frame, they will just actively hold the other direction to get away from the lava, but they don't know to jump and pathfind to, like, a nearby chain or block or something. So they will just sit there trying to get on the opposite side of the platform from the lava, but they will never take the initiative to jump off the platform. That's my guess for why the frame dancing happens. I'm not sure, though. That's just speculation. Alright, so I think I've answered all the questions so far, so let's look into the mount situation now. So let's just use a turkey or something. I very highly doubt this matters which mount you use, though I would like to look into how the mech behaves. So we're going to have to try a few, like, permutations of this here, like with or without an object in my hand, but what do they even do when you're on a mount? This interaction, in my experience, is usually catastrophic, because you, like, tend to get stunned by the mount as well. So let's just see what happens here. So we're going to make our save states, and let's just watch. Watch and learn, chat. Let me zoom in a little bit, because we don't need to be that far out for this. Okay, so it looks like the mount, while the player is on it, is eligible to get thrown. So there's a few things we could do here to make some jank happen. Yeah, this is what I kind of figured happens here. So he grabs the mount and throws it because presumably while the player is riding it, it is eligible to get thrown. And then one frame later, I get hit by the mount. This is one of the reasons why you like hear me shit talk mounts a lot when I actually do speedruns for this game. It's this kind of interaction here where the mount protected me from a hit, like in this case it was the throw, but then I just get hit by the mount one frame later, so basically nothing of value was accomplished by me being on the mount. I just had a larger hitbox. And then we both get thrown. And then out of curiosity, does the mount get the impact damage from hitting a wall? Yeah, the mount actually does get the flag for taking impact damage upon hitting a wall, which is unusual. I think shopkeepers can do the same thing. I believe that flag is one of these. Where? I might have missed it. Is it in more flags? Oh, here it is. Yeah, take damage on collision after throw. Usually only players and hired hands can get that flag, but it looks like that actually does get applied to the mount as well. So if I take it off like that, the mount just bounces off the wall. And in this case, I did not have that flag because I was not thrown by the Yeti. I was just knocked back by the mount, so I did not take the impact damage for hitting the wall. I think shopkeepers, Yetis, and like other NPCs are the only things in this game that could cause that to happen because they could all throw you. So let's see, what if I get thrown at the same time as the mount? Yeah, I could try that as well. There's several like permutations I want to try here. Yeah, sorry, by the way, that I didn't show that video on this, but I do want to keep these like segments focused here. It makes it a lot easier to clip VODs after I'm done with it. Let's zoom back in. All right, so let's see here. Now, here's another question, though. If I jump off the turkey, so I'm no longer on the turkey. Yeah, that's what I thought was going to happen. So turkey with a player riding it is eligible to be thrown. But otherwise, just nothing happens. I do wonder, though, if it is just turkey being ridden by anything that is able to be thrown. So let me check the command real quick to see how I get a mounted caveman. I think I might have a script, actually, that can do that. This one's kind of a long shot. I don't know what's going to happen here. Let me see if this script still works. It's been a very long time since I used this. Is this where I put my entity spawner? It's a different script. God, this is a mess. What do I call, like, too many? I called it like too many entities or something. Yeah, very creative, Cosign. Good job. All right, so let's see if this thing still works correctly. We haven't seen this thing in a while. Mount rider, caveman riding turkey. Let's see here. Put it over there. Spawn it. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off toolbox because we don't need that right now. Okay. Let's go see if this interaction does anything special. It looks like it doesn't. Like, it actually knows to only do this if the player is riding the mount by the look of things. I'm gonna try like an overlap interaction here though. So let me block off his line of sight so I can get on my turkey. Alright, so if he's doing the throw animation like this and just happens to be touching the mounted turkey, I wonder if anything interesting happens. I think I missed the window for that. This one's going to be a little bit hard to time because I don't want that caveman to see me. I'm waiting for the caveman to start moving. Come on, go, go, go. Okay. Let's very quickly touch the Yeti to trigger the throw. Yeah, just nothing happens. So it is actually checking to see if it's a player. All right, so that we can rule that out as a significant factor here. Let me turn that off in case it causes problems later. I gotta integrate that in my toolbox at some point. It'll just make it easier for me to do these kind of things. All right, so the next question that came up, which I also want to look into, what if I get thrown while on the mount? So let's do this. The Yeti is trying to throw me. Let's see what happens. This is kind of similar to being held. Ooh, I think we might have a brick. All right, well, there you go. Good. That's it. So if you needed a way to do this solo, you can do it with a mount. So if I turn around, that'll break his AI. It's the same thing as being held by a player. That will break it. So yeah, I don't know what you wanted to do with this information, but knock yourself out. That's how you do it. So if you're riding on a mount and the Yeti tries to throw you, it's the same concept. He thinks you're eligible to be thrown, but because you're being held by another entity, he can't actually do it. Now that does bring up the question though, what does it mean to be held by another entity? Because active floors will actually quote unquote hold you if you're standing on them. So if I get a push block, for instance, like this. So if you look at the mechanics of what's going on here with this turkey, entity, state, let's see, that's normal. But you see here, if you look at the items for the turkey, character pilot is an item for this turkey right now. And if I jump off and go with a push block instead, character pilot is an entity for the push block. However, this is not quite the same because we do not have the same flags right now. So if I get on this turkey, I said if there's a platform there. If I get on this turkey and look at pilot's flags, I think, I'm trying to remember what changes here. We can actually just do this. We can detach pilot. Keep that info over here. I'll try to make sure chat doesn't show up on top of it. But this is my character. This is player 1. If we look at our flags right now, let's see what changes if I get on and off the turkey. If anything. Okay, overlay draw depth is irrelevant. That's for rendering. None of these other flags are changing. And more flags. Nothing important is changing. I wonder then what the fundamental difference is. As opposed to standing on this, where you can see none of these flags change either. Let's see if the Yeti can throw me off this push block. I wonder what's fundamentally different about this interaction. So let's go back to this save state. And get ourselves a push block. Let me just save that away as number 2. This would be very stupid if this works. I don't think it will. But let's see. Let's just let him walk up to me like we usually do. I'm fast forwarding a bit there. Yeah, that would have been too good to be true. I wonder what the fundamental difference is between these two interactions. Like being... This has something to do with being held, I think, by the entity as opposed to just being parented to it that's causing this to happen. I don't know how exactly the game handles this, but there is a distinction between these somewhere in the game engine. So no, unfortunately, you can't just stand on a push block to not get thrown by a Yeti. That would have been very amusing if that worked, but that's not the case. Alright, so what about colliding with the Yeti while holding a frozen body? I mean, yeah, sure, why not? Let's try that. We got a few permutations, so let's go back to that one. Alright, so the way that this works is I'm gonna spawn a freeze ray shot. This is the most, like, reliable way that I could freeze a body. Then I need to pick up the body again. Let's make a save state for this. And let's see what happens when we do this. So he is attempting the throw. That bricked his AI, so it looks like nothing particularly special happens with that interaction. It's the same frozen or not frozen, he just kind of bugs out. That's what we expected, but it doesn't hurt to check that. So let's see what else. This would be related to held bodies being immune to everything but arrows. But I had something on my list. Hold on. We're not going to look at this right now. I just want to like give you a spoiler. Because there was another interaction for that I found, and I'm trying to remember it. Man traps, that's what it is. Man traps also, I think, will pass through like your held item and try to eat while you're holding instead of you. But I have not done science on that, so I could be wrong about how that mechanic works, but I think man traps prefer to eat your held item. So there may be more entities in the game that do that like damage pass through mechanic that arrows do. Alright, so anyways, let's see here. Does you consider being on the ground, and does that make any difference? I said that poorly. And are you considered being on the ground, and does that make a difference? Okay, so you were talking about the push block versus the turkey, right? That is a valid point. The way that we would test that is by probably hanging off the edge of an active floor. Let's try both, just in case it matters for some reason. So, I need to move away. Alright, so there's two scenarios that we could try here. First is this one. I expect to get thrown here. Yeah, he just pulled me off of it and just yeeted me. He does not care. And just for like the sake of consistency, let's also try it with an active floor. It should not matter if the active floor is capable of moving or anything. I don't want to like try every single permutation of this unless somebody could think that there's a special case here. I'm guessing I'm just going to get thrown anyways, but if just looking at my player entity back up here, you can look at my state. I'm not standing on anything, so I'm airborne in some sense. Yeah, you see I just still get, like, my face just curb stomped into the wall there, so that doesn't seem to make any fundamental difference. The only other thing I could think of would be the weird glitchy ledge hang state, which I guess we could check the glitchy ledge hang state. This just should not matter at all. But we'll go ahead and try this anyways. So if I go back to too many entities and turn that back on. I need to get an Olmite stack for this. It's the easiest way to reproduce this jank. So too many entities, show the window. This time we want an Olmite stack, height 2. Alright, so you might be familiar with this if you're a regular to this stream. But I'm not going to go into too much detail about this. What it boils down to is, if you look at my character entity here, I'm standing on this generic floor. If I do this extremely specific setup with an Olmite stack that has the right height, what happens here is I go into the ledge hanging state right about now, on the same exact frame that I get knocked off of it by a stomp interaction. And what this does is this puts me in what I unaffectionately call a glitchy ledge hang. This gets people killed in Cosmic Ocean all the time. But the thing that we're interested in right now is the fact that this changes the attachment behavior. Look at how I am attached to, if you look at this right here, I'm attached to this floor tile, even though I'm very clearly not. The game kind of thinks I'm in a ledge hanging state, even though I'm not in a ledge hanging state. That's what's going on right now. Does that have any effect on how the Yeti behaves? So we're going to go ahead and check that. Let me make a couple more save states. Let's see if that has any effect on the Yeti throw mechanics. I'm guessing it won't, and it looks like it doesn't. And yeah, this is typical. So there's one other test scenario though. So if I jump to clear my glitchy ledge hang state, you can also do this with other entities like an elevator or something. So if I do this, it doesn't have to be a push block. So if I do this carefully here, I should be able to get the timing on this. If these guys, they're going to move out of the way. Okay, this is good timing. Let's do our ledge flip. There's a lot of jank to this. I think I did science on the glitchy ledge hang before, so I'm not going to do a bunch of it now. Come on, hit it, hit him, hit him. Okay, we got the stomp. We didn't get the stomp. Okay, never mind. That was a tease right there. I don't know why that looked like it worked and then didn't. Can you guys just stop moving, please? There we go. All right, this will definitely work. So we're gonna do the same thing. This is just a setup. You can accidentally do this. You don't need to have like the ledge here. You can do it with climbing gloves with an enemy below you. You just have to get the ledge hang to finish on the same frame that you get the stomp. And this is just a 100% consistent setup for it. So there, you can see I'm attached to the elevator now. And that has a few implications. For instance, I'm not pressing any buttons right now, and the game is making me move up and down with the elevator. I wonder if that affects the behavior of the Yeti in any way. As long as I don't press jump right now, it's not going to like interrupt that. So I'm going to make a couple save states here. And let's go run into this. Again, we're not pressing jump, so we are still attached to this elevator despite not being in the ledge hang state. You can see I'm actually like sort of hovering a little bit, and then I bounce. It's very weird how it works. Yeah, the Yeti doesn't seem to care. Like, he's able to pull me out of this state, so it has something to do with being held by the entity, like, quote unquote. It's not the fact that I'm like parented to an entity, it's the fact that that entity thinks it's holding me is the mechanic that is preventing the Yeti from getting the throw off. Otherwise, it just doesn't seem to matter. I will try to do this airborne as well. So again, I can't jump, so I have to just kind of fall into the Yeti here. So let's see if we can do that without getting a stomp. Yeah, this is actually going to be really hard to do. I'm going to try to get him to start the throw and then see if I can get a bounce from this elevator. This might actually work. It registered a stomp anyways. This is very annoying. I'm just going to place myself on top of it, I think. Which I can't do that. That'll also clear the glitchy ledge hang state. Now, let me just delete this tile and see if we can get it to happen. All right, so wait for a bounce to happen. Elevator moves down. Okay, let's try it now. I'm gonna wait for the elevator to start lifting me into the air. All right, let's see when that happens. Okay, that's a pretty good frame. All right, so I touch him, he starts the throw, I get lifted, and he throws me. So it doesn't seem like it matters if I'm on the ground or in the air. Let's see. Okay, I missed a bunch of chat messages. You noticed the other day that an aggroed shopkeeper can't jump when on a boulder? That has... if you were below him, that might have changed his behavior. That shopkeeper AI is another, like, just unapproachable mystery right now to be. Shopkeeper AI is extremely complicated. So I don't know exactly what the checks are for them to like jump and not jump. I have a basic idea of where the ranges are for that, but there's also these little seeker points on the ground around like the entity that like tell them whether or not there's terrain around them that they should try to jump over. And I just don't know exactly where those are. That information has not been entirely data mined yet, so Shopkeeper AI, I'm not sure. I don't think this is pertinent to the Yeti throw thing right now. Let's see. Yeah, consider being on the ground. I'm checking that now, so I think I answered that. Okay, let's see. That's for dude. Let me just read that. Okay, the wall thing. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that'll be for later. I think I know what you're talking about with the back item, dude, for the wall thing and the bodies. Do I get parented to a mount player? Would that be the case for an elevator as opposed to a push block? Well, it's the same. Like, there's a few game mechanics going on here, but attached to. This is like Overlunky's version of like what is called having an overlay. Like, overlay is the name of the variable that is basically my parent entity, and if I don't have an overlay, that means I am loose in the world, touching the either airborne or I'm touching the static collision mesh is what I would call this. Like, all these floor generics have a static collision, and this active floor has a different collision that requires attachment. It's just the way they implemented it in the game engine. And being on this turkey also has that, but additionally, I think this turkey, let me see if I can figure this out. It might be just carried UID. Let me check the variables. I do want to show this for anyone who likes to do this kind of data mining. So, media sharing. We can figure out what this is called real quick here. So if I go look at, I believe it's just called mount. Unfortunately, there's a billion results here. That's the command for that. I'm trying to find the mounts class. Let me just check for it down here. I hate this problem. I have to open and close the debug menu to actually get these to update correctly, or they're misaligned slightly. Just don't worry about me. I'm just rambling. I think mount has its own category here. Am I blind? I might be blind. Chat, tell me if I'm like completely missing this. Is it under monsters maybe? Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it's under monsters. I'm a big dummy. Rider UID, that's the one. So mount has rider UID. I mean, I could show it in game, but that's going to be the rider UID. Like, it's going to be my character entity right now. And then the other thing, I think power-up capable. It's not power-up capable. It might be movable, actually. Has a carried UID. Holding, that's what it's called. Holding UID. That's the other one. So those are the two things that are potentially relevant to this interaction here. So if you go back and look at this now. So this was a rider UID. We have the mount selected right now. And you can see here it's 7330. That's pilot's ID. And holding UID is -1 because the turkey doesn't have like the holding mechanic necessarily. A little hard to see that. Let me shrink this a little bit. Oh, sorry, I have to tab out and move a window. There we go. Okay, and then if I get picked up by another player like this, and then I look at the holding UID for Anna, it's 7330, so it's pilot. So it's two different like holding mechanics, which both seem to have the same effect of causing the Yeti AI to bug out. So if I do this, for instance, the Yeti AI gets bricked by that interaction. And then the other one that we discovered here today, let me just go back to a save state, we don't need this, is the mount. So if I just stand here and let the Yeti try to throw me to completion, that also bricks the AI. So I don't know exactly internally what the game engine is doing with those two flags. It's possible that they end up in the same function call for some kind of like, can I take damage like check that happens because I'm being held, I can't take the damage. So the Yeti AI gets bugged out because it thinks there's a throwable object touching it at the end of its attack animation, but it can't actually throw it. So that's the gist of that. We can check a couple more things just because I'm feeling silly right now. So if we go get the mech, for instance, which is a mount with some very weird mechanics. The Yeti can't even reach me. I need to test this actually on a... Okay, let's set our save state to something a little more reasonable. I can also get rid of this floor tile to give myself a little more room. Right, so we're gonna do that. We're gonna spawn a mech. Set our save state. And if I just stand here... This game is so stupid. So the Yeti doesn't even try to throw the mech. Interestingly enough, like I think it might have an override in its behavior to just do to not try to throw the mech, and then it just does contact damage instead. So like you see with the turkey here, it actually does throw the turkey, and then I get hit by the turkey. But if we do this, the Yeti just does contact damage to the mech. You see here, there is no throw animation. It doesn't even try to throw the mech because of reasons. I can't get touched by the Yeti. I could try to see if the mech does get thrown if somebody else triggers it. So, let's see. One more science suggestion. Yang buying out shotties from shopkeeps when mad and empty-handed. What? Wait, hold on. What are you talking about? Buying out shotties. I thought Yang could steal weapons from the shop, right? Wait, does he buy them? I'm confused. Is there like an interaction there that I don't know about? I need some more detail on that. Like, what is the Yang interaction? I thought that he could just steal weapons in the shop. I didn't know that there was, like, more to it than that. Alright, so anyways, what if he tries to throw you, but you have a ball and chain attached to you? It's already fully stretched. You probably... Ooh, that's a good point, actually. You might stay touching the Yeti. Okay, we're gonna have to try that one. Buying meaning stealing. Well, that's not what buying means at all. That's why I'm asking for clarification here. What if the Yeti touches you at the top of the mech? Yeah, that's what I want to try. There is a way that I can test that. So let me, we got a few... Let me finish off the mech first, and then, like, let me try this. So what I wanted to test here with the mech is, what if the Yeti is already trying to throw somebody else? And then I walk into him with the mech, so get him really close, and then I'm just gonna have him start throwing something else. So he's in the throwing state now. It just does contact damage. Did that cancel the throw? Wait, did he do a second throw? Hold on. I'm actually very confused. I thought I saw a second throw animation happen there. But maybe there's more to this than I realized. Okay, let's do this at the, like, absolute last possible second before he touches me. Like, right there. Let's have him touch Anna. Alright, so he's gonna start a throw now. And I walk into him. That actually, like, changed the Yeti's state. If you look over here, that changed his AI state. He's still in the attacking state, but it actually changed the AI state. And then he started another attack. What in the... Like, so taking contact damage from a Yeti while he was in the throwing state actually, like, reset his AI state. And then he started another throw after that. That is very cursed, but it doesn't look like it bricks the AI. Alright, so if I'm touching him, like, nothing special happens. Let's see, he should... Yeah, he's just gonna get stomped by the mech. Yeah, staying in sustained contact with the Yeti causes me to bounce, and then I could stomp him. Let's see. I wonder if this changes anything, or if I stand up when I touch him. I actually don't. So I shouldn't be able to stomp him in this state. No, I can still stomp him even in that. I hate... Don't worry about that, chat. That's another thing, actually. You know, let's add that to the pile, by the way, for, like, the deterministic game mechanics. There is, like, multi-threading of some sort for the purposes of loading assets and, like, manipulating the sprite sheets on your GPU. And I have seen desync with that before, so I think that's another thing that isn't necessarily synchronized. It's not deterministic. I believe there is a multi-threading for that. And any OGs from, like, a few years ago might remember that botched, like, Xbox version where all the character sprites were replaced with, like, monster sprite sheets sometimes. And they mentioned in the fix for that that was a multi-threading problem. So there is a little bit of jank that occurs outside of the game state that won't necessarily be synchronized between all players. I believe that is similar to why, like, you'll occasionally get Tusk rendering on top of eggplant ministers, and you'll see, like, a few, like, these, like, floor decorations sometimes on the first frame of syncing will also look like generic floor tiles. There is some multi-threading going on in the background. In this case, I don't know why that asset is what got loaded in by the mech. This is another thing that I am not properly equipped to test. What I would like to see here is whether I could get this interaction to happen without being able to stomp the Yeti. And honestly, I think what I'm going to do there is just set a flag to not be stompable instead. Yeah, it can be stomped. We're just going to turn that flag off. And it didn't work. So maybe there's another... There might be something else going on with the mech. So we're going to do the last resort, the one that I really didn't want to do because it's a huge pain in the ass. But let's go get a push block. Put it here. Let it fall to, like, that point right there. Flags. No gravity. Position. Zero out its velocity. Okay, so we have a low ceiling now that should prevent me from stomping this Yeti. Let me make a save state here. Let's just see what happens. That's interesting. It actually forced me into the crouching state. Okay, well, let's go ahead and set that up again, but in the crouching state. So like this. And let's move the push block down. Make our save states. Okay. Well, I didn't expect it to explode at the end, but we got what we wanted finally. So let's go see if we can get anything interesting to happen as a result of me doing that. So let's go grab Anna. It probably exploded because the mech like tried to stand up or something, like when it got killed, quote unquote. That's not unexpected, honestly. All right, so if we get a throw to happen, and then I just force the mech into the Yeti. Yeah, just the AI state, which is half of the attack behavior, just gets zeroed out. Does anything happen, or is the Yeti just kind of stays like this? Okay, I just set the mech to have 99 health, so it's gonna, like, not die anymore. Yeah, the Yeti just kind of gets locked into this, like, contact damage attacking state, which I think happens with cavemen as well. Yeah, I think we actually, you might have seen it there. I think he tried to move briefly. What is being tested? We're just trying to understand Yeti throw mechanics and some jank that causes the AI to just like get bricked, depending on like how you move something out of his way while he's trying to throw it. Yeah, so he moved for like a frame there, and then he got stopped by touching him again, which I don't think has anything to do with the mech. I think if you just touch a Yeti and take contact damage, which can happen in a tight corridor, I believe the same thing happens. Notably, though, he does not seem to be interested in throwing player 2, like, at all right now. So if I stop touching him, I bet he's going to go back into the throwing state. So if I back out... Yeah, you see that? I stop touching him, he immediately goes back in to try to throw Anna. And if I touch him again, he actually finishes the throw. Like, that was earlier than he should have been able to do it normally. He actually just goes right to the spot where he finishes the throw. This is very strange. I don't know what conclusions I could draw from this, but he actually finished early and finished the throwing animation. Well, he didn't finish the animation at all. He just, like, threw the entity that he was touching and then went back into his normal standing state. Yeah, so we could actually reproduce that one more time here. Yeah, so if I back out of the Yeti, he starts the throw, and if I back into him again... Oh, that time he didn't do it, though. God, I don't know what the window is for that. So did he buffer the throw, or did I fully cancel it there? Maybe I did actually give him enough time to, like, do the throw animation. So he starts throwing. I touch him again, he stops. So never mind, actually. Maybe I spent too long, and he was able to do it normally. I don't think I fast-forwarded the animation. So back out for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, and then he was able to actually do the throw. It's tough to say what's going on here. I would have to check every single situation. What it boils down to is it looks like if you take contact damage from the Yeti, he will cancel his throw animation, and if you don't do it fast enough, then whatever was touching him will get thrown anyways. That seems to be the conclusion here. Yeah, you want me to try getting the Yeti to interact with me in the mech. I'm guessing it's going to be the same interaction as the turkey. It happened again. Alright, so anyways, let's go ahead and try that. So, like, having a platform for the Yeti to stand on is probably the way to go. I don't like that. Let's use a normal platform. So we need a floor platform, just any will do. Okay, let's see if this fundamentally does anything different. So he can't touch me here. This is going to do contact damage. What was that random sprite? We saw that earlier. I guess I could check. Let me make a save state. So if I frame advance... Yeah, it doesn't always happen. Okay, well that's an Olmec floater. I wonder if it's my crouching. I don't know. We're getting a little off track here. If I touch him while I'm crouching... That's Olmec. This is Olmec's nose. This is one of the Olmec fragments from like the cutscene. Like this is the right side of Olmec's face, is the sprite that we have. Like the mech is on the same sprite sheet as Olmec. Like this is known already. And in this case, I think this is just like picking the wrong sprite index for some reason. Let's see if this changes. We're getting a little sidetracked, so I want to wrap this up pretty quick here. We're on animation frame 21. And it is using Monsters Olmec 3, which is usually what it does. And if we frame advance, the mech is now using... Yeah, it's the same thing. So like this is a problem with like the texture cache somewhere on my GPU or somewhere in the game engine. It is on the correct animation frame, but like what the game is actually drawing for some reason is the wrong sprite. I don't know the technical details of what's going on there, other than that, again, I think there is some multi-threading in the background, and sometimes it will not like catch up correctly. Save states maybe don't handle it correctly. I don't know exactly what's going on with that. Anyways, back to this. Let's see if we can get the Yeti to try to throw me. So if I stand up, the mech's hitbox immediately reaches full height. So the Yeti is not going to try to throw me, he's just going to do the knockback. So what we got to do here is actually get a like partial block here, which I have to do this again with a push block. So we need a push block like right about here, I would say, with 0 gravity. That'll be our platform to stand on. There's probably other ways to get this to happen, but this is going to be the easiest. Have a look here. Alright, let's see. If I suspect this is going to brick his AI as well. Yeah. And yeah, you see he's not attempting to do any more throws. Yeah, so that bricked his AI. It's the same thing as the turkey. This is a very contrived scenario. It would be very difficult to get this to happen. But there you go. I guess if you somehow were able to get this set up, like having the mech on a boulder, for instance, with a door platform would probably cause this to happen. I think the boulder is the correct height. I'm not going to spawn a boulder in because they can kind of get weird and crashy. But I think you could theoretically do it with like a door platform, or this platform here, and the mech standing on a boulder would probably be the correct height for that. Spike ball, yeah, spike ball is another one that has like slightly smaller height than a tile. But boulder you can get in the ice caves, so theoretically you could use it for that. You might be able to do a very precise jump as well. Oh, interesting. Taking contact damage actually unbugged him. I didn't know that would happen. You can see he's bugged here. But if I let the mech take contact damage, that unbricks his AI. So that kind of makes sense. But yeah, theoretically, if you had a very precise jump, you might be able to hop up under the Yeti and get this same thing to happen. I could try that real quick. But I'm about to stop going down this rabbit hole here. So a single frame jump. He's not touching me, so that's not going to bug his AI out. Let's try 2 frames. That's not going to do it either. 3? That does. I don't know if you could do it because the 4th frame is going to cause contact damage. So that's 4 frames of jumping, and then he touches the mech. So yeah, that setup's not possible. There is no jump height that'll make it work. I can't stay touching him long enough. Maybe I could hover, but like, yeah, this is contrived. We get the point. So let's move on. Like, it just, as long as you can get this little smidgen of the player to be touching the Yeti for about 15 frames, that'll cause his AI to bug out. As long as he doesn't touch the mech. If somebody comes up with like a useful reason to find setups for that, I can go back to this, but let's go ahead and move on. Let's see here. Yeah, spike ball, we talked about that. If I missed anyone's messages, by the way, and they're still relevant, do let me know. But I think we covered this. Ball and chain, yeah, that's a good one. Let's do the ball and chain. Excellent idea, chat member. So let's go back to this save state. We don't need the mech anymore. Just for like making sure, I'm gonna check all the mounts real quick, but I think we're gonna see the exact same I gotta slow down a little bit first. I think we're gonna see the same interaction with all of them. So axolotl, bugged out his AI. Oh. Oh, that's... Well, you know, I'm glad I checked this. We got to see something a little new here. So that unbricked him, right? So let's do that again. No, this is why we check things. There are no bad suggestions, chat. No one suggested this, but I was thinking, like, you know, just in case something interesting happens, why don't we try the other mounts? So let's look at his state right now. He's in AI state 6, but his behavior is just the idle standing state. So getting bubbled. Put him in the falling state instead, but he's still in the attacking state. And for some reason, that just has him keep throwing. So of course, the obvious question is he actually throwing right now? Normally, if you touch an entity while it's in a bubble like this, he will just like kind of pop the bubble and get stunned. Let's just see what happens here. Make sure I'm not stomping. Yeah, he gets stunned, so he is not going to throw me in that situation, unfortunately. So that's not like a throw mechanic, because if anything touches the bubble, it'll pop, and he will get stunned instead of throwing you. Is he actually throwing right now is a question you ask about me a lot. You know, I deserve that. If anyone has seen any of my recent speedruns, I deserve that remark. Sometimes I wonder if I'm intentionally throwing for content at this point. I don't think there's anything particularly special about this game state. Let's, oh, there we go again. We got another one of these. Let's set that up and see if we can get any more jank to happen. So I'll make the axolotl again. Save states. Yeah, so if I turn like this, let him touch me. What if an enemy mysteriously got teleported onto the Yeti? It'll just telefrag him. If you mean place them on the Yeti, I could try that. Put the bubble grab to 0. I mean, I don't think anything... I forget who is the owner in this interaction, actually. The bubble shot... I think the Yeti owns the bubble shot, but gets some special properties. I don't know, actually. I don't know who owns it. This is a very cursed, like, game mechanic. This is one of the ones that you could tell they didn't test very well. The bubble shot might have, like, a special flag. I'm not going to show this on stream. Let me just very quickly see if it has a special flag. Not a flag, but a variable for what entity is contained within. I'm just looking for the bubble right now in the documentation. There's a lot of instances of the word bubble. No, no. What in the world? This is extremely hard to find for some reason. It's not acid bubble. It's not vat bubble. It's not sleep. I can't find it. I don't even know what this entity is. Chad, I have no idea what this entity is. Okay, I'm going to open the docs. Let's try to figure out what's going on here. This is another rabbit hole. We're not going to go too far down this. Let's go have a look and see if I can figure out what the hell's going on here. So, hierarchy list. This thing is called a bubble shot. It is an axle. Oh, how stupid of me! It's an axolotl shot, not a bubble shot. This one, I'm going to blame the Overlunky devs for naming this one. Yeah, traps. Okay, so this is another. This is honestly like probably a ball and chain tier like jank interaction, because this bubble doesn't even own the entity inside of it. Instead, they just have some completely new game mechanic for what is inside the bubble, and it's like getting snapped into the bubble, like probably every frame or something stupid like that. I don't know why this game was programmed the way it was. It doesn't make like just any sense, but if I take this Yeti and move it out of the bubble, you can see every frame, it just gets pulled back into the bubble. This could have just as easily been the bubble carrying the Yeti, but for some reason they just did it differently. I don't know with this game anymore. If we find more jank associated with that, I could look into it. This probably is related to why like bubbling hermit crabs with push blocks causes them to go like hyper speed, because it's just yet another game mechanic that doesn't follow the rules. Don't know why. Set the bubble grab to 0. I don't think... So we know the bubble is controlling this interaction. I don't know if it has gravity. Yeah, the bubble already actually has that set. The bubble doesn't have gravity. It's just programmed to move upward at a slow velocity. So there's nothing to change there. Like you could see the velocity is 0.01. And it's just, that's just always what it is. So there's really nothing to do there. You've experienced it live, yeah. 256-bit colors of me throwing, and that's during the calm crust. I mean, this stream is 16 million colors. This is 24 bits of crystal clear throwing action that you get when I'm not having calm crust right now. And let's see, that's why the Yeti animates while throwing while in the bubble. I think the reason... you know what? No. I wonder if the reason for that is the falling state, actually. Why do I have one? I don't have 1 minute delay. I got to your comment late. Don't wall me. I got to it late. Look, I'm trying to stay on topic. What I try to avoid doing is having a chat member like interrupt me when I'm explaining something else. So I will finish like the current explanation, and then I will read another chat message. Is usually like the workflow I use for this. That one I wasn't ignoring you. I saw your message, but I didn't get to it because I wanted to explain the bubble mechanics. Now, as for why this animation thing is happening here, I'm not sure. Teleporting into this is just going to telefrag the Yeti. If you mean, like, just if I just teleported into it or anything... Let's see what happens here. I think it has to be a player touching it for that to happen. So if I get off of the axolotl and then I just kind of skim the bubble... Yeah, it just pops. Like, the player has to touch the bubble for it to pop, and then the Yeti just gets stunned. I could check this with a player corpse, I suppose. I think that will also cause the same thing to happen. So let's see here. So the Yeti is going to do the throw. That'll bug its AI. And let's get a player corpse. Or a hired hand. I could have used either. I didn't have to kill Anna like that. I mean, I did have to. And so let's bubble him. And then let's see if a player corpse will also pop the bubble. I think it will. I'm being careful to only touch the... like the bubble and not the Yeti. But I suppose I could mess with that. Oh, interesting. It took it a moment. It didn't have enough speed. Now, hold on, we might be onto something here. Let's try with the hired hand. Let's get the throw glitch. I'm gonna make a save state of the Yeti in the bubble. I didn't get the throw glitch, I didn't touch him long enough. Okay, there we go, he's glitched now. I'm gonna make a save state of this scenario. Let's just see what happens if I just kind of place the hired hand in the bubble. He doesn't seem like he's actually able to do the throw, despite like running through the whole animation. He's not able to actually throw the hired hand, like something else is going on. The bubble also has X velocity. Yeah, the bubble like wiggles horizontally. I don't think that matters, or at least it shouldn't. Yeah, and if he's falling fast enough, then he pops it. Which actually, that's a fairly low speed. I didn't know that... Right, no, that's not the speed of the hired hand. I actually don't know exactly how that works. I'm not going to try to figure out that speed right now. The buffer says 2 seconds. Yeah, it was just me not reading chat. Well, it was me not responding to chat immediately. And you may also have 45 seconds to broadcaster. Twitch keeps pausing my preview, so I don't know what Twitch is doing today. It's being, well, the usual. Yeah, that's what's supposed to happen. They go into their falling animation. So this is very amusing looking. I'm not sure if it's actually useful in any way. It's very silly though. So here's another party trick for anyone who wants to like show this off to their friends or something. And you can see the bubble moves horizontally. It's just programmed to do that. There's a few fields for like wavering back and forth. But he's gonna hit the ceiling and most likely that's gonna unbrick the AI. And right there, falling state, and then he goes into the stun state, which that resets the AI. So he's gonna go back to the normal walking behavior afterward. Look at this idiot. I knew I had to duck because he was gonna throw it the other way. I still have reflexes, Chad. I still have like co-op reflexes. Like I saw where the body was on the Yeti, and I knew it was getting thrown to the left. I still have those instincts, even after all these years of being washed up. Like, just, it's like riding a bike, except the chain randomly falls off, and the wheels, it doesn't have a seat, and the wheels are squares. That's the equivalent of riding this video game, but you never quite forget how to ride that bike, no matter how long you've been washed up. Can I bubble Hundun off the top of your head? I don't think he interacts with bubbles. I'm not going to check that right now. We could do bubble science if people accumulate enough questions about that, but off the top of my head, I don't think you can bubble the Hundun heads. You can definitely push them with shields, though, so I could be wrong about that. It's very rare to get an axolotl into the Hundun fight. I could be wrong, though. I'm not going to try to spawn Hundun here to test that, because that gets kind of crashy. Alright, so let's see here. What else have we got? We're not done with this. We still have to test the ceiling as well. What would have happened here if you blew that alien transformer into the jumper? I'm going to look at this really quickly, but we might defer this if it's not related. Well, you know, whatever. I'll show it on stream, but we're not going to look into it right now if it's not related. I do want to see what it is, though. Why is this not... Why is my standby not loading the VOD? Hold on. Come on. Browser. There we go. It should be up now. There we go. It's capturing. Okay, what is this? Okay, let me hold on. Let me pause and try to figure out what the heck you're talking about. Oh, what would happen if you blew that alien Oh, the mech. Okay, you're just asking about what would happen. I can just show that right now. I will. You just want to know what happens if the mech touches the bouncer. I'll just show that real quick. I thought there was going to be more jank here. This one's easy. This is very simple. So let's go find a bouncer real quick. I think these are called jump. What are these called? These are called spring traps. That's what these things are called. All right, here's a spring trap. Here's a mech. Nothing happens. It just doesn't bounce. It's too heavy. So there you go. Hope that answered that question. Those just don't interact with the spring traps. Anyways, back to this. Yep, no problem. I don't mind answering a quick question like that if it was just right there, like a low-hanging fruit. Mechs also don't interact with spikes, if I recall correctly. Or not ceiling spikes. I think they don't interact with floor spikes either. Why not tangent or sine? I don't like tangent because it's a discontinuous function, and I picked cosine because it has 2 syllables, so it like stands out a little more. That's the reason why it's not tangent or sine. I am biased. Discontinuous functions are gross. I hope that is a satisfactory explanation. Let's see here. So, can bubble Hundun? No, I got to that already. I think I'm caught up here. Cosine. I don't... was I supposed to have a command for that? I don't know what that command would be. Alright, anyways, I did want to test something here. Is the gamma function gross? Then I gotta come clean. I don't know what the gamma function is. Or if I do know what it is, I don't remember it by name. Like, I'm actually a computer scientist, like, first and foremost, and, like, I have a minor in mathematics from college, and then some applied mathematics from, like, programming. But I don't remember off the top of my head what the gamma function is. Continuous factorial function. Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head what that function looks like. If you want to, like, link the Wikipedia article for me, you can. We're not going to make this a math stream, though. Alright, so anyways, what I wanted to check here was the other mounts, and I also actually want to check what happens if this Yeti falls. This Yeti is currently in the bricked AI state. It's the same thing as the bubble, it looks like. It goes into a weird, like, falling loop. Did I work on this game? No, it would not be nearly as broken if I had worked on this game. Believe me, I kind of wish I had worked on this game sometimes with how many problems it has, but let's see what happens here. I would have made the netcode work better. So this Yeti is still bricked. Now that's interesting. It's actually not looping that animation. It finishes the throw. Yeah, so if you pick it up and throw it in the air, it actually finishes the throw. If we get rid of all these tiles here, this will actually be easy if I just use explosions. Don't worry about that. That's normal. They always make that sound. He looks like he just kind of... Something's not right here. Hold on. Is this guy bricked? No, he's not bricked. Okay, hold on. Let me break his AI, and then I'll try that. Let's see what happens. So we know that in the bubble... Oh, did I not let it finish? We know that in the bubble... There we go. Now he's bricked. So we know in the bubbled state, he loops the animation. So if I carefully remove these tiles... A little hard to see what's going on here, but he's currently throwing and falling. He actually fixes his AI as a result of being dropped. It's only the axolotl bubble. Huh. Yeah, he can move now. I don't know. I guess falling also fixes the bugged AI state for some reason. I am not sure why. It just kind of does. Yeah, he like kind of finishes the throw and then goes back to working correctly. Huh, I don't know. Okay, let's go back to this though. Let me try the other mounts now. Only continuous when the input is positive. Okay, we're gonna post to the gamma function. You know what? Why not? Let's look at the gamma function, chat, just to see if I recognize it. Like, I think this might have been like higher level mathematics, and I didn't go that far into the coursework before I got deterred by having to learn how to do proofs. I want somebody else to prove things. I don't want to have to do it myself. I was like, you know what? I'm good. I'll let somebody else like figure out if this works. I just want to actually program it. I want to make the math happen. Alright, gamma function. This looks familiar. It's this thing apparently. And what is it defined as? The gamma function of n is n minus 1 factorial. Interesting. So in the negatives, it goes into this weird alternating series that I assume converges into like this weird like square pattern. Yeah, this is the complex version of it. Yeah, I've seen this, but I did not know that this was called the gamma function. This is one of those things that's kind of like outside my pay grade. I never learned like the true like intricacies of this kind of function, like what this is useful for, where this shows up in a lot of like theoretical mathematics and probably physics as well. This kind of nonsense usually shows up. It looks like it's saying down here it shows up in like statistics and combinatorics. But yeah, this is, I can't say that I really know what this is, but yeah. I don't know, I don't really know where to go with that, but nice to at least see a reminder of what that is. I have seen pictures of that function before. I just ultimately don't know what it's good for. I could probably like implement it like in a game if I needed it for something, but it seems like it's mostly for statistics, so it's probably not something that would come up much for the kind of things that I do. Alright, let's see here. I'm not worried about it. I'm not in school anymore. I don't got to worry about what the gamma function is. I'm not in school. I don't have to care. It's like, oh, I don't need to know this? Alright, see ya. I graduated from college. I got my degree. My diploma's up on the wall over there. This is no longer my problem. Alright, rock dog. Alright, nothing interesting going on here. Didn't expect that. And Keelan. Should be the same thing. It should just get its AI stuck until I like fireball it. Yep, nothing interesting going on there. And there's actually, I think, 2 more mounts in this game for those who do not know about this. So here's one of them where it looks like I'm actually going to be protruding forward from this one. So let's put the Yeti over here. Yep, same thing. He gets stuck. And then we got one more mount in the game that we could try here. And the couch. Yep, that looks good. I see no problems with this sprite. Let's unbrick his AI. Now this one, I wonder if he's going to step forward far enough to attack the mounts. God, I hope this doesn't crash. Let's see. Okay, it didn't crash. Looks like it just... Yeah, it stuck his AI anyways. Yeah, I was about to say, you know, we're taking a risk here of the game crashing because these mounts are not like the others, but let's see what happens if I just let him touch the chair. Alright, come on, buddy, do it. Don't be shy. Touch the chair. Huh. The Yeti actually knows not to attack the chair. I wonder why that is. There's just something about the chair, like having different flags, like not being a damageable entity is probably what it is. Because if we look at the flags for this chair, I'm not going to mess with these because this is definitely game crash material, but I bet that take no damage is one of the criteria for the Yeti to not try to throw it. We can check that actually by trying to apply that flag to a turkey. So let me do that real quick here. Let's go to this turkey. Set the take no damage flag. And then see if the Yeti is going to try to throw the turkey now. Being programmed not to crash. This is almost certainly an accident. No, he's still trying to throw it. I wonder what other flags it could be. There's probably other flags. It might be honestly be throwable or knockbackable. Yeah, the turkey didn't take any damage from that. Let's try the other flag. It might be the throwable, knockbackable flag. So if we get that chair again. This is so stupid. There's another like Kaizo custom level thing. Yeah, it's not throwable or knockbackable. So let's set both of those flags on our axolotl right now. And see if that's enough to do it. No, he's still trying to throw it. Alright, well, while this is going on, what other flags can I set here? Alright, collides, walls, semi-solids. I don't... Pick up a ball? I don't know. I mean, it says the chair is pick up a ball, it's not. So, I'm not sure. I don't know what it is. This is tough to say. We're once again getting a little bit off track here. I don't know what exactly about the chair is causing this, as opposed to the axolotl. I don't want to touch... If I touch movable, it might crash. Yeah, the Yeti's just like... just flexing. This is presumably the Yeti going through the throw animation and then being unable to actually do it because there is no, like, ability to throw it. With liquid. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's tough to say. This is kind of another one of those things where if I had a reason to look into this more, I would do it, but I don't. I don't know what's going on here. Why am I moving slowly? The Yeti is like stepping forward every now and then I'm getting adjusted to the front of the Yeti. Like, what's happening here, I think, is the Yeti is trying to walk every now and then based on its walk-pause timer. So it walks for 1 frame and then does a throw, and it snaps me to the throwing anchor point, like, after it walks. So that's why this is happening. This is the walk-pause timer that's causing me to move forward a little bit occasionally. That's why you try to destroy the camp with bombs and mod monkey game crashes. That's tough to say. Those chairs might be it, but it could also just be other camp mechanics that are causing it. The camp is very complicated. There's a lot of hard-coded game mechanics, like, baked into the camp. So there's a lot of things that could cause it to crash there. I usually try not to provoke the camp, just in general, because it's, like, risky to do so. I couldn't tell you for sure what's causing it. There was no walking state? Well, I think it's because in the same frame. Look, I mean, we could show this. So let's get this to happen here. So, let's see, eat a walk, I think it's called walk pause timer, so 57. So let's let that tick down. That's 20. And 2. Wait, did I not frame advance? Oh, it's not advancing while he's in the animation. So I'm taking 1 at a time. So on the next one, it hits 0, and then I think he's going to walk forward. Yep, you can see him move forward a little bit and reset his walk pause timer. Then on the next throw, he's going to shift me over slightly. So he starts the throw. There we go, right there. He did the throw, and that set my point to be a little further to the left. So it's every time he walks a little bit. It happens like in a single frame, so you don't get to see the state update to walking. Like he moves and then he goes into the attacking state on the same frame, so it's never visible. But yeah, that's what I was pretty sure it was. So every time the walk pause timer hits 0, you'll see that he's cycling through it and he moves me a little bit. This is not a relevant scenario because normally you cannot get an entity into this kind of state where it can't be thrown. Normally this is what happens. So any questions about that? We tried all the mounts. Crashed on the scrambler mod when the chair got crushed by a falling push block. Yeah, those chairs are not meant to be destroyed. So I would just chalk that up to them just having some code for like the chair dying or being crushed that is never meant to be executed. And they don't do checks for this kind of stuff because what even is like safe programming? So it just crashes the game instead. That's kind of the gist of it with a lot of the jank in this game. And occasionally some of that jank can occur in like the vanilla game without modding, because there are several ways to crash this game. I've made tool assisted speedruns of a couple of them. We were looking at one of them earlier. Let's see, I think we've caught up on all the questions here. Any questions about mounts, or should we look at the low ceiling scenario with the Yeti? I'm gonna hydrate in the meantime. Ball and chain, thank you for continuing to remind me. Let me do it now. I have been constantly forgetting to look into that. So let me get rid of the mounts. Ball and chain, we're actually going to do it this time for real. So let's see, it is a command. Attach. Why is the tab complete? Attach, ball and chain. Let's see, player. I think it's that. There we go. Okay, so we have a ball and chain. Let me go ahead and make a save states of this. So the question here is, how does the throw interact with the ball and chain attached? So let's try this to start with. This is a fairly straightforward one. I don't think anything special is going to happen here other than that my throw is going to get cut short. So if we go to max length ball and chain like this and let the Yeti throw me, let's see what happens. Come on, do it. Yeah, he applies like some momentum to the punish ball, and then I get a very weird funny looking slow fall after that. But that's just this is getting in a punish ball jank, so I'm not going to try to really explain why the slow fall happens other than very, very shoddy programming. Like, the punish ball is insanely hacky, just in general. So like you got weird slow throws and like falls depending on like who's holding the punish ball, who's attached to it, entity ID order. We're not going to look into that right now. The question here is if anything weird happens with getting thrown with the punish ball. Now what I need to check here is what happens if I can't move. So if I'm like this instead, what happens if I get thrown by this Yeti? I'm like pushed up against the wall as much as possible. And I'm actually, interestingly enough, I take the impact damage by hitting the edge of the ball and chain. And I think I already see where this is going, so let me set my health to something a little bit higher. Yeah, so this is your punishment for letting this happen. There's definitely some ball torture going on right now. But the important part is the Yeti considers this to be a successful throw, and so his AI doesn't get locked up. So for the purposes of finding more ways to brick the AI on the Yetis, that doesn't actually brick it. It counts as a successful throw. It's similar to like the iframes against the wall. It doesn't matter if you necessarily get thrown away from the Yeti. All that matters is that like the game thinks he threw you successfully. I'm gonna look at my health here. So it's making its way down. We don't need to see that through to completion though. Any other punish ball scenarios you could think of for this? Like the other one I could think of is if you're really tightly pulled up against the Yeti like this. Yeah, you can see there, it's actually going to keep doing it. There's nothing particularly special, it's just a very silly reaction. If you're holding it and he throws you, yeah, we can see what happens. I'm not expecting much from that. So let's go pick it up. Yeah, you just get dragged back into the Yeti. Alright, so he goes and does the throw. Yeah, it's the same thing as like holding anything else, really. Like, the ball also gets the throw momentum as it gets pulled out of your hands, which I think is just a mechanic of the Yeti throw. I think if you're holding an item, that item is also given throw velocity, probably so that you don't just like drop it on the floor below you when the Yeti throws you. I don't know if that applies to everything. We can check that with a few other things. Like, if he's holding a... Like, how about this? If I'm holding a body, for instance, the body also gets the throw velocity. How about, like, a landmine? Does that also get it? So if I walk into the Yeti, I get my salad tossed. Interestingly enough, no, not that one. I don't know, maybe it's only certain entities that get that. Like, the punish ball got it, but the landmine didn't. I'm not sure. I don't know exactly what's going on with that. I guess I could try to figure that out. That's kind of like within the domain of what we're doing here. But yeah, if I'm holding it, if I'm facing him, I get yeeted. If I'm facing away, yeah, we still both get yeeted. I don't really know why. If I'm like crouching, we both get yeeted. Facing and crouching. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know exactly why that would happen. But then with like the landmine, for some reason, just does that. I don't know if it matters, maybe if I'm moving when I touch him. Which I think I hit the landmine in that one. Yeah, I don't know. The landmine gets dropped in front of me like a cartoon. Like, I just got thrown, and then my, like, shoes stayed in place, and the rest of me got thrown away. I don't really know, like, what the distinction is. And they were merciful. It doesn't seem on brand for them. I mean, I wonder, honestly, if facing left will cause anything different to happen here. Yeah, what happens there is I think I hit the landmine with my body, like, as I get thrown, so it gets a little bit of speed, but not a lot. Okay, let's see here. I missed a comment. Yeah, implemented just don't crash. Well, I mean, all they have to do is like a few null pointer checks, and a lot of these crashes probably wouldn't happen. Or a few like sanity checks on like whether the type of the entity is still correct. But I mean, adding too many of those checks does slow down the game engine. So really what they should have done is fix the game when these crashes were discovered, rather than add a bunch of safety checks. Like, if you're making production code for like a server, for like a website, you want to have a lot of safe programming. For a game like this, it needs to run in real time. So really the problem here isn't the unsafe code, it's the fact that they didn't fix a goddamn thing after people discovered all the unsafe code. That's the part I'm disappointed about in this game, is how they didn't fix anything, not so much the existence of the bugs. Because bugs happen, you make mistakes. The problem is these are all very well understood, and they're not patching the game, so they're just not going to fix any of them. So we just have like random crashes. Random nonsense. Like, tell me if anyone's heard of this one before. If you ghost breath a sorceress shot on the frame that it spawns a bat, your game will crash. If anyone didn't know about that, we discovered that one during a stream a while ago. So like weird shit like that you would never think of, that would just to you look like your game just crashing for no reason. I don't know why that happens, it just does. But yeah, if a sorcerer is spawning a bat into a ghost breath will cause the game to crash. It's just one of those things where they should have patched something like that, and they just are never going to. So, oh well. Let's see, what else we got here? And to be clear, we don't want them to patch this game anymore, because if you remember the 1.26 patch, I don't want to go back to that. I don't want to spend the rest of my life stuck in syncing. They're going to make the game worse if they patch it, so I would be very cautious about being optimistic if you find out they're going to patch this game, because in all likelihood they're going to break more things than they fix, because that's what they did last time. Sometimes the arrow of light knocks you back when it's the pitcher's mitt. Yeah, I don't got to show that one. If you throw it with the mitt, you get stunned, unless you do a first frame down throw. Okay, I lied, I am going to show it. Let me get rid of the punish ball. We're getting very off topic here, but these are very quick things to hit here. So here's the mitt. Here's the light arrow. Alright, so if the player without the mitt throws it, it just gets thrown normally. If the player with the mitt throws it, they get stunned. But if I press down and throw on the same frame... let's see if I can get it. Hold on, I'm missing the timing on it. Come on, I'm not that bad at this, I promise. There we go, first try. That's a first frame down throw. If you press down and throw on the same frame with the mitt, you get that interaction. Otherwise, you get stunned. All right, back to our regularly scheduled broadcast. And what else have we got in chat here? I'm very behind on chat. Let me just catch up. If an explosion only lasts for 1 frame, why is a shotgun sent flying after the shopkeeper dies? I'll put that on the list. I have no idea. It might get the velocity on the same frame that the shopkeeper dies. There might be some like inherited speed for dropping an item while your own entity has velocity. So I'll go ahead and look into that later. Okay, next. Only merciful for traps. What about a bear trap? Wait, what are we... I think I'm missing the context for this one. What about the bear trap? Or does this relate to like the Yeti throwing thing? Or you mean like holding the trap? Let's find out. Snap trap. I suspect it's going to just drop it like the landmine, but we can find out. Yeah, it just drops it like the landmine. Interestingly enough, though, it didn't deploy it. Didn't have enough velocity to do so, I guess. We don't need the ball and chain, so I'm going to overwrite that save state. Let's see here. Oh, you think it's the shopkeeper getting hit, the shopkeeper body hitting the shotgun? It could be what it is, but we just saw here with the Yeti, sometimes other things inherit the full speed. Normally getting hit by an object gives you like a quarter of the velocity of the objects that hit you, I think, in most of the testing I've done. There could be more to it than that. I'll make a note here, though. It might be the body hitting the shotgun. I'll decide if this is actually worth doing science on some other time. Let's see here. Gotta love going somewhere to help the students and not a single student showing up. What is this? Are you like tutoring or something, or is this related to something I said? I mean, I don't know. I've never been down that walk of life, so I don't know. I assume that's a thing that happens occasionally. Let's see. Cosine, it's a game design philosophy to leave the game as. I hate that philosophy so much. If this were my game, I wouldn't like fix every single thing. I wouldn't have like fixed book skip and Spelunky HD or anything, but I would have polished up all the crashes, stuff like clipping through the loop in the cosmic ocean. Like, I would not have left it in the state that it's in right now. The back item dupe, I would have had to like really deliberate over whether or not to fix that, because on one hand, it's nice to be able to have like multiple back items in a run. On the other hand, you have people crashing co-op games and like other weird problems arising from it that is disrupting the co-op experience. Not to throw shade at anyone, but just in general, like there are a lot of new players in co-op here and there who just don't do it much, who are just confused and baffled and frustrated by like all the weird jank that experienced players are doing in their co-op runs. So I don't know, I would have considered fixing it, but I would have fixed it quickly, like before it became like a hallmark of like online runs. But they didn't do any of those things, so again, it is what it is. I'm annoyed by it, but I have to move on at some point. I can't do nothing but complain about this game. I do have to occasionally finish the science. Does it have to be a bat? Yeah, the sorcerer's thing only happens with bats. It has something to do with the spawning state of the bat, like initially wanting to hang under a block before it starts moving. I don't know the exact mechanics behind it, but something about that first frame of the bat being hit by knockback when it spawns in is what causes the crash to happen. You're back from your 4-hour class. I am sorry that you had a 4-hour class, but welcome back. Let's see, there's a lot of odd behavior. You were in a pink tube and they double jumped. Yeah, if you do the Vlad's Cape dupe and then somebody jumps while you're in a tube, you just kind of fly off into the distance. I've shown that on stream before. I think that was in the 15 years of Spelunky like glitch showcase. Could enter CO with a straight pitcher's mitt throw. You can't. Like, even though the down throw thing I did a moment, that doesn't work. I'm not going to go too deep into this one either because we're doing Yeti throw science, but what it boils down to is no, it has to be shot out of a bow. And the crossbow breaks when you try to shoot it, so the like Huyi's bow is the only one that can do that. Or an arrow of light getting shot out of an arrow trap would also open the portal to the cosmic ocean, but there's no way to get an arrow trap to fire that in the vanilla game. So the only like holy grail for bow skip that nobody has found yet would be if you could fire it out of the crossbow without the crossbow breaking. I do not know any way to do that. If anyone finds out how to do that, that would be fantastic. But until then, it eludes us. And similarly, Arrow of Light skip has also not been discovered because it seems like it needs both those items to actually do it. They patched something I think you could do earlier with like a cloned crossbow. That got patched like fairly early on in the game's lifespan, where you could fire a cloned crossbow to open the Cosmic Ocean portal. So as of now, I don't think anybody knows of a way to do that. Sadly, Discord clip, Grego showed you how to break the Yeti AI just by grabbing a ledge. Okay, I'm gonna click on this. I'm not gonna show my Discord window though. Let me see if I can just understand this, because I would like to see if there's other ways to cause this. I'll just go ahead and mute it. Huh. Okay, I will reproduce that right now. It looks like almost like something I tried earlier with a ledge hang. Okay, I know I'm still behind on chat, by the way, so just bear with me for a bit. So if we have a Yeti like this, and we have a platform like so, apparently I can just jump into the Yeti, so let me make a couple save states. And let's see, I think it's 8 frames. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is the minimum jump. Huh. Okay, I didn't know whipping would fix that. It doesn't have to be, it's not very precise, because as long as you're not in the Yeti's, like, throw range. Okay, I think a max height jump will get you killed. Yeah, max height will get you killed, so you gotta do a little bit of a short hop. But as long as you, like, get into the ledge hanging state before he throws you, I wouldn't have expected this to be a thing. I'm not sure why this works. What if he's like not, what if he walks into you after you're on the ledge? Does that matter? I'm so far behind on chat. Okay, it doesn't even matter. It just, something about this interaction causes that. Like, just like skimming the Yeti, like touching the edge of the hitbox, just barely maybe. I wonder if this qualifies for, like, thinking that he could throw you, but then your hitbox is slightly different from the detection range for the throw? Because in this ledge hanging state, the top of my hitbox is exactly equal to the bottom of this Yeti, or it should be. So the top of my hitbox is 111.5. Twitch froze again. Okay, good. We're still live. And then the bottom of the Yeti's hitbox should also be 111.5. And the Yeti's hitbox, from what I could tell, is the throw hitbox. Yeah, they're exactly the same. Well, if I stomp him, that'll happen, but... So as long as I'm careful with it... And then he's just in the bug state. This is the same state as before, so that's interesting. Skimming the edge of the bottom of the Yeti's hitbox also causes this to occur for some reason. I don't know why. It must have something to do with, like, this being another condition where the Yeti thinks it could throw something that's touching it, but actually can't. Now, we know it has nothing to do with the ledge hang, because the Yeti could throw you out of the ledge hang state. We tested that earlier. Like, we know that that's not what it is. Like, he'll just throw you out of the ledge hang state without any problem. So it has something to do with, like, specifically this alignment right here. Yeah, perfect edge of the left-right. I was going to test that in a moment here. If I can get the Yeti to not be able to move, I can also do that alignment. Though that has some floating point jank associated with it, so it may be a little hard to get that to happen. Let's go back to this frame. I'm going to catch up on chat, and then we'll continue with that. Let's see. Yeah, blow up the tube block. That will drop the player for in the Vlad's Cape, like, tube glitch state, but let's stay focused here. Yeah, your teammates will double jump at the worst possible times, so always be careful about that. Make sure you're someone who you trust when you're doing the Vlad's Cape, like, dupe or whatever. You would fix the dupe glitch. I think I would have fixed the dupe glitch. I would have just done it very shortly after it was discovered, rather than like now, for instance, when people will be mad if they fix the glitch. I'm going to be honest, I have done so much jank with that glitch, and I would, if they fix that glitch without causing any additional problems, I would be like, okay, yeah, that's fine. We had our fun. Like, I wouldn't even be upset with them for fixing it. The problem is, if they fix it, they are going to break something else. Like, they're just going to make the game worse in some way. But it is a very problematic glitch. It's amazing, but it really just, I don't want to make this a Cosmic Ocean rant right now, but like, it fixes other problems with the game. The existence of being able to dupe your back items is a band-aid fix for like how bad the Cosmic Ocean experience is with 4 players and not having any back items. Everyone's going to have a different opinion on whether or not that should be fixed. At this point, I think they shouldn't fix it. It's too little, too late. Like, the damage has been done. We might as well just leave it. But I would have fixed it like very shortly after it was discovered, if this was a universe where I had any control over the development of this video game. Yeah, and then CO has like 3 coffins for 94 levels. I'm catching up on chat here, but like, that's really, it helps with that problem. It helps you get eggplant runs more consistently. There's some fun stuff you could do with it, but oh well. Is there a stale reference or stale state reference capable of switching Hui's bow with a crossbow? That's also outside of my domain. I have not tried to do like the weird like jank of like swapping items out, like crushing Hui's bow and then spawning a crossbow into that slot in memory with a clone gun or anything like that. I have not tried to do that. I don't know if that would be helpful. Like, you would need the bow anyways, but like, it might give us some insight into how to actually make the magic happen. But the answer is, I don't know if you can do that, and I'm not in a position to test that right now because it's just too crashy, and I don't have a very good way to look at memory. Alright, so what if a Yeti walks into you while hanging? I just showed that. Well, I just showed that a few minutes ago. Again, very far behind on chat. What about the perfect edge? We're going to try that. Being hurt by something while hanging is bad game design. You think there's an enemy that could hurt you while you're hanging below it, but don't remember. Well, I mean, if they touch you horizontally, they should be able to hurt you. In Spelunky HD, they could come up under your feet and they would still hurt you. In this game, I don't know what enemy you're referring to that can hurt you while hanging below it, like entirely. For the most part, the game is fairly good about that. If you're talking about lizards, it happens with lizards when they roll off the edge because they clip into your hitbox for like 1 frame after they start falling off the edge. So that's why you usually get hit by lizards if you're ledge hanging below them. Besides that, I don't really know for sure. I can't think off the top of my head. You remember the updog door skip? Yeah, they patched that before it became a problem, which I think most people were okay with. Some people got upset about that. I was okay with them fixing that. I think are we finally caught up now? This one rando online who got mad at you for duping and then cloned the cape in front of you right after we duped. Yeah, it's rough with randos. I don't know. It's, again, now it might be too late. I wish they had fixed it shortly after it was discovered. Yeah, no, that was I mean, I think speedrunners, that would have been banned from speedruns. I'm pretty sure that was the plan if that wasn't fixed, because it was really stupid. That would have become like its own meme category. Like, the rule that would have been added for most like cosmic speedruns would have been that all 3 orbs must be broken before leaving the level, but it got patched before it came to that. I don't know the exact like discussion that was going on, but I think I could be wrong, but I think the consensus among the community was that it should not be allowed in like any % Cosmic Ocean, because it would have just invalidated most of what you do in Cosmic Ocean, because it would have just been go to the exit, do the glitch, go to the next level, rinse and repeat. Anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, by the way, the glitch was sometimes called doggy door, and what it boils down to is you could exit the level with a jelly on the exit by getting your mount to touch the exit hitbox, like this door right here. Pretend this door is normal. If you were on a mount like this thing, I don't remember even spawning this in, usually it was the up dog, it worked with any mount. The jelly hitbox was about the same size as the door, so you could do this. You could have the mount like just ever so slightly touching the door like this. This contact would have been enough to leave the level, but the jelly would not have been touching your player, and you could exit the level without popping the bubbles. That's what it was. They patched it so that the door is only unlocked after the bubbles are popped. You could still stand here and not die to the jelly like this. Only the player touching the jelly would kill them. Anyways, that's not pertinent to what we're doing here. That's just an example of a bug they fixed. So your biggest problem with the jelly jank is you don't get iframes upon leaving tubes. Iframes in this game are just an absolute like shit show. I don't know why the iframes are such a mess. Okay, I very much lost track of what we were doing here. What else was there that we wanted to check with the Yetis besides the ceiling? I guess the horizontal setup. Let's check the horizontal setup. So I'm going to put this Yeti at a very precise position, and let's figure out where his hitbox is. And I could use like the grape cape to do this, so let's get the hover pack. I'm not going to use anti-grab if I have a vanilla way to test this, so let's see, get the Yeti's hitbox. Alright, so the left side of the hitbox is at this value, which unfortunately, thanks to floating point jank, this might be a difficult position to set ourselves up on. But if I hover like this, that should not register as a stomp. Let me go ahead and make a save state just in case. Yeah, it's not a stomp, so we can test that. Sorry about the noise, you're gonna have to keep listening to this for a moment. Beta UID to right. Okay, so the player hitbox is yeah, 0.28. So what do we need to add to get to this number here? Heat on X. Let's see here. So what's the difference between these two? We got 0.28 to just do the math. And this one's 23.8. This is going to be kind of crusty with all the floating point math, but it looks like 0.37 is what we want. All right, so let's see what happens if we do that interaction. So pause. Oops, I deleted it. All I'm doing here is moving the player to a very precise position next to this Yeti so that our hitboxes are just barely smooching. We set the Y value to be a little higher as well, so I'm not touching the terrain. Okay, let's see what happens with this setup. So the Yeti is going to try this throw, and if we look at our hitboxes now, the Yeti's, or the player's right side is at 23.65, and the Yeti's left side, and just like the Yeti, he's actually a little further to the left. I might need to bump this value, like just a smidge to get this to not happen. Hey, thank you for the follow. I don't actually know how to pronounce your name. Iltz? I'll tease, whatever. Thank you for the follow. Correct me if you wish to. JB, alright, just... Oh, it's not an L. I'm a dumbass. It's not an L. Okay, JB, thank you. I thought that was a L instead of an I. I blame modern fonts for that. Let's see. You did a chest test. Hold on, I missed a message here. We're still talking about up dog and door or doggy door. Let's see here. Yeah, accidental tube entries happen a lot. You did a test with 30 jellies, couldn't make that happen. There is something about it that I don't understand. Like for the window of re-entering tubes, but that is something for another day. For why you sometimes get iframes in tubes and sometimes you don't. Wait, you didn't know that? I think you can change it in Twitch. Now, you should probably lowercase that first one. Yeah, that's what threw me off there when I was trying to read that name. But yeah, I don't know. There's something about the tubes that I don't understand. If the tube doesn't have a floor below it, I think it takes like an extra frame before you can re-enter it. So it's tough to say what's going on with that. Anyways, we are actually what appears to be like maybe one floating point unit of precision too far to the right. So let's see if we get thrown. Let's just see how it plays out. Yeah, he still throws me, which this is a hover pack mechanic, by the way. Oh, I didn't know this. Hold on, I didn't know this would happen. Did I? Wait, this is not supposed to happen. That's unusual. I thought usually you drop to the ground. Wait. Why'd I have no gravity? I think this is user. I think I did something at Overlucky because my hover pack wasn't turned on. So that's not vanilla. Yeah, that's not vanilla. Let me fix that. So let me load the save state. There we go. Okay. Yeah, see, that's what's supposed to happen. It drops you off the ground. I didn't put no grav on. What happened was I touched the ground and like I moved myself around the same frame with the hover pack active, and that like sort of canceled it but didn't clear the no grab flag properly. That interaction is what's supposed to normally happen. That was in fact user error that I performed right there. So let me move away and fix my hover pack state, and then we're gonna go set that up again, and let's see if we can figure out how to get a better position. So how do I want to go about doing this? Let's do this with the in-game numbers. So I'm going to set myself to have the correct position by just copying this value. I want to get the right side of my hitbox to exactly equal the left side of the Yeti's hitbox. So what we're going to need to do here is set that to... That's minus the width, minus half the width of the player. That should do it. Let's go ahead and see what we got out of that. So the hitbox of the Yeti is that, and the right side of the player's hitbox. All right, now we have the exact same 32-bit floating point value. Like 10 years old. Oh, let's go. It's fixed. You did it. After all these years. There we go. I understand now. It's JB is how I would have pronounced that now. It all makes sense. Okay, you've changed your name a handful of times. That makes a little more sense then. All right, let's go ahead and try this and see what the Yeti does. Oh? I think he's bugged. Yeah, that's it. So we have another condition. This one is like insanely precise if you're not doing it with a ledge hang, but it looks like a pixel perfect exact hitbox contact with the Yeti will also cause this to happen. So you can see me like revert to the save state here. That will also cause this glitch to occur. If you are just barely touching the hitbox by literally the exact edge, this will happen as well. It is something to do with the Yeti thinking it could throw you and then failing to throw you. So failing to throw an entity that the Yeti should have been able to throw is what bricks the AI. There is no leniency. We tried this. Let me get these numbers out of the way. We tried this with like one floating point unit of precision closer to the Yeti, where my player was at 0.650000152, and then the Yeti was at 649999, and that caused the Yeti to throw me properly. It literally had to be the same exact floating point value in the game engine for this to work. So getting this to happen is not necessarily impossible if you align yourself with a floor tile. So if we go back to a save state, like this, and if you were able to do this, you could like maybe align the Yeti to this tile here. So if we put the Yeti here, so he's aligned to this tile like that. I don't know if he's going to start walking immediately. All right, he won't start walking immediately, so let's see if we can get it to happen from here. So I'm going to turn off the hover pack. And then I will drop the Yeti like this. So the Yeti's left side is aligned perfectly to this tile. I'm aligned to the right side, or my right side is aligned to this tile. So I need to get the Yeti to not move immediately when I drop him, which he keeps doing, unfortunately. I don't know what causes their AI to act like that. Let me get him between a walk cycle. I think he wants to walk right now is the problem, so let's try that. There we go. All right, let's jump. So he looks at me. Yeah, that'll do it. That causes it to happen. So it's not impossible to get this alignment if you use tiles to normalize the setup. But as you see here, I broke his AI by doing that. So if I move into him like I just did right there, it will break it. Let me set up another save state and do this in real time. But if we set him up like this, I need to get him out of this bugged AI state. Alright, so if I take him between walk cycles, I need to stay touching him. Did I touch him long enough? I don't want to get into the ledge hang if I could avoid it. I could just do this here. There we go, that bricked his AI. So I didn't have to ledge hang for that, as you could see there, just touching him for the duration of the throw attempt. So there you go, we have a few ways to do this now. You can do it with a ledge hang. This setup is very difficult to get to happen because it's very hard to like get the Yeti to line up with a wall like this. I'm not sure how you would do that. Like dropping the body straight down will have him bounce to the right a little bit, but if somehow you were able to get this to happen, like maybe nudging with like a push block or something, maybe you could get this setup to occur. It's not very practical, but the ledge hang setup is really the one that's probably the most like pertinent. Like you just hang on a ledge like this, and if you can get the Yeti to walk over you with like a platform, which I guess is not easy to do here. You can get that to happen in Neo. You could also potentially do this actually if you were to place the Yeti here, stun him, and then hang like this. That'll probably also do it. Yeah, that'll also cause it to happen. I wonder if that's what happened in that clip doo-doo linked like an hour or two ago. That will also cause this to happen though, if you like stun him and drop him on the edge like that. So this is a fairly reproducible solo setup. It doesn't require a platform to do it. You just need a ledge hang, and you need to stun the Yeti in order to cause it. Wooden shield up against the tile. Yeah, that would probably work. That would push the Yeti into the wall and have him drop straight down. I'm fairly certain it would work. We can check that setup real quick. Or metal shield, but the metal shield would crush him if you weren't very precise with it. It might actually not be possible to do it at all with a metal shield. But let's just... I'm looking the wrong way. I do not wish to be thrown, game. Stop. Please wake up. Alright, so yeah, the idea would be to do this. Like, he's not in a walk cycle. So it looks like he tried to walk there. But yeah, if you were to do this, that will line him up with the wall. You could see it actually clipped him into the wall for a second, then I stomped him. Whatever, the point is that lined him up with the wall, and then maybe I stomp him and he does a bounce or something. I just wait for him to wake up. I'm screwing all this up. I want to get this done correctly, like once, so let me try to do it right. Alright, so it would be like this. You would run like this, push him into the wall. I'm going to stomp him because I'm moving too fast. Then pretend like your second player or something was down here. And he's going to walk, whatever. This is not a good use of my time, chat. You get the point. You can align him to the wall. The problem is he might try to walk immediately. Yeah, we're throwing for content again. You could theoretically do it. The reality is, I think the setup for that is so obtuse that you would only want to do that if you really did not want to damage the Yeti, if it had like 1 health or something like that. But the way to do this is just to stun the Yeti and then just hang. And you can reproduce this 100% of the time. It's like trivially easy to do it. And then if you ever need to get him out of the stun state, you just whip him and he'll start moving again. Any questions about that? We've been doing this for like 3 hours. I did not think this was going to be the 3-hour segment for the stream here. I was like, oh, just Yeti throw, Jank. How complicated can this be? I think the last thing to check here is the ceiling cases. So I'm going to clean up the mess here because I think we're about done with the alignment. We know that perfect edge alignment is also capable of producing this glitch for some reason. Alright, so let's do the ceiling case now. Alright, so here's our scenario. So we've got a Yeti underneath a low ceiling like this. I'm not going to try to figure out the exact detection, like rules for what counts as a low ceiling, because it doesn't really matter that much in the grand scheme of things. This interaction is stupid. I don't know why this happens. I don't know if it's a bug, if it's just like a very poorly conceived feature. But if I run into a Yeti while he's in a hallway like that, I take a knockback stun like this. Just, he doesn't throw. I just immediately take the damage and get knocked back from the Yeti. I don't take the wall impact damage either, so it's not like he threw me. I just take like stun knockback from the Yeti. I'm trying to think if there are any other entities in the game that do this. I think there are. But like an entity that does damage and knocks you away, like a Crocman bite kind of does the same thing too. Shopkeepers throw you. However, I think in a tight corridor, shopkeepers also do this. We'll check really quickly. We haven't really been looking into shopkeepers. I don't have time for that, but if I spawn a shopkeeper here, if I can get his AI to go hostile, we can check it real quick. Let's see here. If I think if I anger him and then let him touch me, yeah, you can see it's the same thing. I take the throw damage instantly. He's gonna shoot me. I don't want to get hit by these bullets if I can avoid it. Let me just delete the bullets like Neo in the Matrix or something. And he just dodges the bullets, not even deleting them. It's not a good reference. And I'm not gonna get to see if I got the wall hit. I can just check my flags. Hold on. Entity. Flags. I don't know where that window went that had me. I must have like crushed myself at some point. Yeah, I don't have to take collision damage on throw, so yeah, it's the same thing with the shopkeeper throw mechanics. I don't know why this happens is the thing. Like, let's try now. So I think the way that this works for a lot of other entities, like I know that Jank, for instance, have a couple of probes above their heads, like on each side that they use to detect like tight corridors. In Jank case, that causes them to do that little shuffle to get out of a tight corridor. I can actually show that as a good visualization. So if I just get a, I think it's the same for either of them, but we'll spawn this one in. Yeah, visualizer enabled. Assassins. Did I not? Am I big stupid? Why is it not showing that? I thought I implemented those. There should be a range visible right now. Okay, hold on a second, chat. I have done something incorrectly. This may very well be a bug with the mod itself. There it is. I don't know why I was having that problem. Okay, so this is very hard to see. It's not really helping. It's bad color scheme, but you see that little crawl indicator there, and there's these two plus marks on the wall? Right there and right there. Those are the probes, quote unquote, that the Jank is using to see if there's a ceiling above it. And although this hasn't been data mined, I'm pretty sure the Yeti probably also has this to determine if there's a ceiling above it. And you see that they're like kind of above the corners of the hitboxes. So if the Yeti is standing, let me delete these now. If the Yeti is standing like partially under the ceiling like this, the right probe would be like about there. And if I touch it, I just take the weird knockback contact damage instead of getting thrown. And I'm guessing that that's what the check is for this. So if I go back to this frame and I like drop the Yeti directly against the wall, so the probe is intersecting with the edge. And I need him to stop walking. It's very annoying. Okay, he's not walking. So if I line him up with the wall perfectly, let him land, and then I touch him, it still counts as that. But I bet if I move him like even a pixel further to the left, it'll go back to normal. Well, I'm not going to bet that, but I suspect that that's what's going to happen. So if I line him up to the wall, and then I move him by like just a 10 or 100,000th of a unit, further to the left, and then I touch him. No, it's actually further than that. Okay, so I'm a little bit incorrect. The probe might extend a little further out from the wall than I thought it did. Let's do a few tests just to see if I can find out the exact threshold for this. Alright, so he's not walking right now. Alright, so the Yeti's position, if I move him that distance and touch him, I get knocked back. If I move him a tenth of that, wrong save state. If I move him a tenth of that and then touch him, I still get knocked back. If I move him, that's a thousandth of a unit. Still get knocked back. Okay, it actually protrudes further to the left and right than I thought it did. I don't know why. Okay, a hundredth of a unit. Still get knocked back. A tenth of a unit. You can visually see that one. Oh my god, it's huge. Why is that check so big? I was very much not expecting the probe to be that far out to the side of the Yeti. 0.2? There we go. Okay, now we're back to normal throwing behavior. That is insane. I don't know why this check exists, chat. Like, if anyone here wants to speculate on why that happens, I would love to know your ideas, because I don't understand the function of this check for the shopkeepers or the Yetis or any of the other NPCs. I don't know why they wouldn't just throw you like they do normally. Like, you can't run through them. I don't know what this is meant to prevent the player from doing by having this weird contact damage interaction instead of them just throwing you in a tight corridor. Like, it would work perfectly fine, I'm pretty sure. Like, if I initiate the throw like this, it actually switches to the other version of the throw. That does not break his AI, for anyone that was wondering. I don't see the point, so if I wait till I get into the throw state... Oh look, I was in a tunnel the whole time. It works fine. Like, I still get thrown, I still take the wall damage. I don't understand the purpose of this check. I don't know why the developers did this. And unfortunately, sometimes that's where science comes to an end, is when the developers made a bad decision and there's no, like, proper explanation for why it happens. I don't know how to go any further than that with this. Or this is a weird jank interaction with some other entity that I just don't understand. Is it a different check than the different throw trajectory that players have in these tunnels? I don't know where the probes are for that check, honestly. I don't think they're in the same spot. It's hard to tell. So I know what you're talking about here. I'll look at this very briefly. There's two throw mechanics for players in this game. So there's this one here. If you're standing out in the open, like this, and you throw an object, the object gets an upward arc. Like, you see how high it went. It went a little bit above, like, the door tile here. Zoom out a little more. But if you do that same thing, except you're standing in a corridor like this... And this one actually did the full throw. There's a point where you will eventually get a low throw. So let me see if I can find where that happens. What about here? There we go, that's the low throw. You see how I threw the rock the exact same way, but it didn't arc upward at all? You can actually see very obviously here the probes are in a different place. Like, if I was standing over here, I actually got the upward throw. The probe for that check, I think, is floating somewhere out here. I don't know exactly where it is, and I really don't feel like brute forcing it today. We'll just try a couple spots and see, like, roughly what it looks like. So that got an upward throw. A little further back, I'm just eyeballing this. That got the low throw, so it's... You can see where the boundary is. It's somewhere around here. Like, this is like the threshold where the player will switch from the upward throw to the horizontal one. This mechanic is really fucking annoying sometimes because you're not expecting it to happen and you're trying to hit like an orb or a worm sack that's like right here, and you throw an object from here and the thing you threw just goes down instead of arcing upward. And I guess it's because the game thinks it would have hit the ceiling. Bats are also another really bad one. If you have a bat like right here or something and you try to throw a rock or an arrow, there's a very good chance you will not hit a bat that's here, because your object will get thrown down. I know what they were trying to accomplish with that one, it just isn't actually well implemented. But it's not the same check. to answer the question the Zap Trap had, it is definitely a different check. I don't understand this. But that's, I mean, that's the ceiling, like, mechanic, and we can just spawn in a mount as well to see if there's any additional jank. But I think we're kind of, like, coming up on the end of this here. I can't think of anything else to check here at the throw mechanics. Yeah, you can see what happened there, actually. The turkey got thrown to the right. Because I think the Yeti didn't turn around, actually. That's interesting. Okay, we have a couple things we can check. I'll just replace the shield. Alright, so if we do this slowly... So in this one here, yeah, it knocks us both back. I think what happens here is I get hit by the turkey on the frame that the Yeti knocks it away, and we get the usual nonsense. But if the Yeti is facing the other way... let me... a ceiling here. So let's see, if the Yeti's facing the other way and I touch it, the turkey gets pulled forward because the Yeti doesn't even turn around to face the turkey. There are so many different systems at play here in this game. One of the systems is causing the Yeti to turn around upon contact with an enemy, and the other system is causing the Yeti to quote-unquote knockback throw the turkey. And you can see here the Yeti actually turned around only once I had touched it. And then I think I was past its origin point, so I also got knocked over to the right. Like, I get like a couple of iframes or something from the turkey, because the turkey itself didn't stun me. And then the Yeti eventually was able to just like break through the iframes. Iframes jank is something I don't properly understand in this game. There's one more thing I'm curious about, actually, just real quick, because we never checked this. Is, will the Yeti turn around for this? Yeah, it does turn around. It's specifically this corridor interaction where it doesn't turn around to face the turkey. There's just too many systems at work here.
Cosine's throwing harder than a Yeti in a snowstorm. Snowflake emoji.
Thank you for that. Thank you for the resub. I mean, I'm not the one that's throwing here right now. Really, it's the Yeti. Like, come on. Give me a break here. We haven't even tried to do a run today. Yeah, it's just the usual garbage. Am I a programmer by day? I'm unemployed right now, but, like, my profession is software development. That is what I was doing before COVID and all these other wretched things that have happened in the last, like, 5 or 6 years. So yes, I am a programmer by day, basically. I've made a lot of my own mods for this game for the purposes of doing these idiotic science streams. Is there anything else I could test here? All right, chat. This is the last call before we move on to the next segment for the Yeti throw jank. Is there anything else you could think of for me to test here? We've learned a few things. Other than like being able to brick their AI with ledge hanging, though, there's not really a good way to weaponize any of this knowledge that I could think of. But people are creative about this stuff, so like somebody might discover something that no one thought of. You can brick the Yeti's AI is kind of like the big takeaway from this, and maybe that'll like allow you to do something interesting with a Yeti at some point in the future. I'll check really quickly to see what game mechanics can unbrick the AI. So if Webgun, for instance, doesn't do anything. Yeah, you could create a whipless rim. There's a few interesting things you could do. Like, yeah, you could brick the Yeti so you could pass through it. For instance, like this would be, you know what, I'm gonna write that down actually, because I've had this long-standing idea of doing a glitch Kaizo, where you have to use extremely obscure game mechanics to finish it. I'm not gonna promise that I'm ever going to actually do that, but I am gonna add this to the list of ideas I had for that. I think Dragu floated the same idea as well. Again, I'm not gonna promise that I'm ever gonna do that. I have so many ideas for this game. But I might as well write it down just in case. So let me add that one to the list. Now let's see, Yeti. What do I want to call this? I'll just call it Yeti Bricked AI. Pass through tight corridor, yeah, something like that. Okay. And if anybody else like genuinely took the initiative of making this themselves, I would like I could give you like the list of things that I have for this. Like I'm not going to do that unless somebody actually commits to the idea. But like I could contribute ideas to a list for a glitch Kaizo if someone was like legitimately going to go through with it, because there are a lot of weird things you could do in this game that you would have to like watch my goddamn streams to be able to actually do it. Now let's see here. Let's see, these are, yeah, I know, I have to play classic guy. I've been like, I don't want to. I don't want to go into the light, chat. I don't want to play as classic guy. We've been having so much fun. Power pack exploding after you dupe it, but you need the fire whip to get through bush blocks afterward. I don't want to use things that are like just straight up like unstable. I mean, I guess, yeah, you could, that's actually a good idea though. Like you could theoretically do that. The problem is it's unstable, so I don't know if I would integrate that one specifically. You might end up just crashing your game trying to utilize that. It's an interesting idea though. What's currently in the list? I cannot even begin to explain the length of the list. I will give you a random subset of the glitches that I have on this list. So let me just read through this and pick a few. Let's see. Quillback shield teleporting. Back item damage aura. Hired hand holding purchasable back item. Firebug flame immunity with held object. AI blind spots. Cosmic ocean loop explosion survival. A slow bow. Out of bounds mount riding. I'm just picking up a few like random ones. Lamasu shots breaking tiles diagonally. So that's the idea of like the caliber of nonsense that I have ideas for this. Like there are so many things on this list right now. There's just tons of weird like game interactions that you would never think of that you could make a Kaizo out of if you knew what the interaction was. Some of which would be like probably frame perfect. And Pangji AI bricking, if you got a clip, throw it in, but we are probably not going to get to that today. We've been doing this for quite a while. Alright, so anyways, back to the Yetis. I was going to check and see if there were a few other things that would like change their AI. So we know Axolotl Bubble doesn't unbrick it, but when they get stunned afterward, it does. Freeze Ray also fixes it. Why was there was just no audio for that. Like that wasn't like the stream. There was just no audio for that Yeti getting stunned there for some reason. I don't even... Uh-oh. Uh-oh, that's not good. Huh. How long have we been in this level? Did we get the audio glitch? I mean, there's force fields in the mothership. Did we actually stay in this level long enough to get this audio glitch? I thought this only happens with horizontal lasers. Okay, well, good thing we're wrapping up this segment, so we're gonna have the silent version of this for the remainder. Let's see. What else would potentially do it? Let's try to poison a Yeti as well. That was because of the bubbles? There aren't any bubbles in this level. Yeah, it's, oh, if you mean that, no, it's still lasers. I'm like 99.9% certain the horizontal lasers in the Tiamat level are what caused the audio to bug out, which eventually starts hanging the main thread, and eventually your game freezes up or crashes. I'm not 100% sure, because I legitimately don't know the internal reasons. It's not a memory leak, it is a leak of something else. So what I've done is I have blocked off all the bubble spawns. Like, so they cannot spawn in. Well, actually, no, I haven't, because that crashes the game. So, I mean, I guess it could be the bubbles. But the thing is that there are, like, Kaizo levels. Here's the deal. Here's my other, like, alternate evidence for why I think it's the lasers. There are Kaizo levels with horizontal lasers and Kaizo runners. Just playing, like, extremely difficult levels, like single levels with horizontal lasers, have said that their game will eventually freeze up and the audio will break after like a few hours in the level. Levels that don't have any bubbles. So I don't think it's the bubbles. The mothership tank bubbles could have something to do with it. Lasers spawn an enormous number of sound emitters, and I'm almost certain it's a sound engine related problem. It's tough to say for sure. Yeah, I don't know. But I'm not going to do science on that. That is something that is much harder to investigate properly, and I don't have the tools to look into the game code to figure out what's happening every time the game hitches. But my understanding is it's actually the audio engine somewhere in the fmod library that is like freezing. And eventually the main thread tries to do stuff like spawn new audio emitters or like terminate existing ones. And it doesn't get a response back in time. It takes too long for the sound engine to like perform the action on the main thread. So the game ends up freezing is what happens because nothing can happen while it's stuck in the fmod library trying to make something happen. Beyond that, I don't know what it is, and I'm really speculating. I don't know the exact details of what's going on here. That's just kind of like my understanding of what's going on with that. Oh, you know why the AI visualizer is broken? It's because it doesn't support save states. I will have to fix that at some point. I just realized that's what's causing the AI visualizer to bug out. Let me make a note about that. Oh, I'm lagging now. Okay, we gotta wrap this up. Can anybody else think of anything that could like get a Yeti out of the bug state? I'm gonna try Cobra Spit real quick. We're starting to jitter. Everything is falling apart. Like this is basically the same kind of crust that the Tiamat level has, so we need to finish this off now. Alright, so we got the Yeti in the bug state. Yeah, this doesn't do anything. I bet the poison is probably going to knock it out of the glitch state. Here, let me detach this again so we can look at it while I try to wrap this up here. We were on a time limit for this segment, apparently. We're coming up on 4 hours here. Though, I mean, I think the segment started like half an hour into the stream. So if we look at the Yeti here, I'm guessing it's going to lose this AI state after 30 seconds. So just pay attention to see what it does. Oh, that killed it. Game, I don't have time for this. I really don't have time for this. It usually has 3 health. I do want to keep things vanilla when I can. Alright, so we have that. Speed. Alright, we're gonna give the Yeti Ligma. Oh, it's dropping inputs now. Oh no. Maybe the mothership is not a good place to do this. Well, the level with the mothership is crashing at the Yeti out of the bug state. I don't know how to answer that question. That's a little ambiguous, to say the least. Alright, so we got the glitch. Let's just see if anything interesting happens here. Every tile is the force field. Every tile of the force field is a different entity, and I don't remember how the audio emitters work for force field entities. We're not going to look into that today, but there are a lot of particles, a lot of entities, and a lot of audio emitters that get spawned by the force fields. Because there's like hundreds of force field tiles up there that cycle every second. Yep, okay, good. So that does, just taking damage, presumably, also unsticks the Yeti from this bug state. We know that walking through them doesn't do anything. I'm guessing that pushing them also doesn't do anything. Yeah, we're running out of time here. Let me quickly get a shield and see if moving them does anything, but I'm guessing that doesn't, though making them fall off a ledge would almost certainly get them out of the bug state. Oh, this is so difficult to do. Oh my god. I just want to get as much value out of this as I can before I have to restart my game. Alright, get in the bug state. Alright, there he goes. It dropped my inputs. Get out. Come on. Jump. Jump. Come on, get up. Yeah, that doesn't do anything, but pushing him probably will. Yeah, okay, that unsticks him. Anything else? Any last words, chat? I don't think this session is long for this world. Yeah, big F's for Spelunky. Oh, Dupit put in Waddler to open a door. Oh, okay, you guys are talking about the Kaizo thing. Yeah, we're not gonna go too deep into that. Again, if you get a clip for the Pang-G thing, I'd be interested in seeing it. I think it's crashing because I'm not only in this level for 6 minutes, I've been reloading state. Yeah, I remember I mentioned earlier the Fmod is not like part of the save states. Like the sound engine is not deterministic like the rest of the game states. So I have crust accumulated over like 3 or 4 hours of being on this level that was not getting re-rolled from save states. You weren't able to use save states. Yes, Keel and Skip Turbo doesn't support save states. They didn't exist when I made that mod. I may come back and like sort of upgrade that mod to like more recent standards and technology that we have, but that's very low on my to-do list. I really need to fix Task Wizard first. So for the Yeti thing, I think we can safely say we're done here. And answer your question, no, going to the main menu does not fix the audio leak. I hope our segment about Yeti Jank has been at least moderately insightful. I don't understand why they work the way they do. The AI bug just has something to do with the Yeti touching something that it thinks it can throw but actually can't at the end of its animation, causes its AI to bug out. That includes skimming the hitbox of the Yeti with something that it thinks it can throw but actually can't. So I hope this has been interesting. We are going to move on to the next segment now, and I need to restart my game.